Hello everyone and welcome to the LightBringers podcast, where we'll be talking about what kind of glasses do you have at home, and also Guild Wars 2 roadmap for the summer of 2022, even though it's July, halfway through, and summer's like halfway over. It's okay. It's going to be fun. But it is a good one. It's a fun one. Also, we have guests. We have a Rookery. We have Fornax, aka the Crichton Herald. And also we have World of Enders, or Boots, with W and the double T. Okay? Because that's... The what, sorry? The ooh what?
You said bubble ooh ooh, you said double ooh oots and T's, and I went boo ooh ooh tits.
Oh, I thought you said something else there at the end. Okay.
When I was
wow,
a young child... When I was a young child, I had a stuffed animal, which was a little tiny yellow elephant that I called Boot. And I just realized that that sounds a little bit like Boots.
It does.
Wow.
That's cute. You need to rebrand. You need to rebrand everything to be like a cute little yellow elephant that plays Guild Wars 2.
Yes.
That could be good.
Anyway, I'm glad that I've been able to derail the podcast so quickly already. It usually happens like 20 minutes in.
We've started already.
Record time. Wow.
It is record time. Very quick intro for us all. If you want to tell us what you do, where you do it, Boots, let us know now, please.
I am, World of Enders. Sometimes YouTube, and sometimes I go on the Twitch, and that's at Boots_. And yeah, that's what I do.
Okay. Rookery.
Hello.
The things.
Hi. I'm
Sure.
Rook, or Rookery, and yeah, you can find me on Twitch at ROOKURI, Rookery. You can also find me on YouTube, you can find me on Twitter, but there is an _. Afterwards. We, I think, have fun here, just tossing in one for variety or a couple for variety that just have underscores afterwards. So Twitter, Rookery _, Instagram just at Rookery, and yeah, whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm playing, we're usually talking about or playing MMOs, that's me.
Wicked. Crichton Herald. Fornax. Welcome.
Hi.
The things.
Yeah. Hi,
Oh,
how you
have
doing?
you got extra arm movements now?
I've pressed
My goodness.
the wrong
Holy
button.
moly.
I have pressed the wrong button. That's the problem.
Can you do the YMCA?
Can I do? I've done it again. Oh my god. Anyway, so I'm the Crichton Herald, or Fornax. I've messed up my emotes. I do occasionally YouTube videos. I'm getting back to them. I'm actually writing a legendary, like, why Guild Wars 2 legendaries are the best legendaries in any game, and I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, so that'll be fun. And I do Twitch occasionally, and that's me. Da-da-da. There you go. Bye.
Yeah, I feel like we've been trying, at least I personally have felt like all of you have heard us do our intros so much at this point that I'm like, just speed through it. What's up? Hey, I'm Rookery. This is it. Bam.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, that.
And we could do the longer version later, and then people have the option to stay, whereas they've actually got to listen to us now. Because I do a chapter. It's a chapter sometimes. It's a whole chapter. And then I'm like, okay, how long is the intro going to be today? And it's like an hour. It's like, okay, well, we talked about everything in that hour, so that's okay. Yeah, twitch.tv/JebroUnity. This is where we are on a weekly basis on a Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific. At some point in the future, that will change as I go into being a counselor. So I'm not sure when that's going to change. It may not, depending on if I have management over my own schedule. So we shall see. But yes, this is where it is right now. You can listen to us also live on your favorite podcasting websites, likely as well. As Spotify, iTunes, Google, Thing, whatever that's called, YouTube, Twitch VOD, all the things. So if you want to watch us, actually you can watch it on Spotify as well, so make sure you do that. Don't forget to like and also do the commenting and subscribing. Defeat the algorithm, get this podcast out to many people, because it definitely needs to be watched by more Guild Wars 2 peeps in the community to let people know that there are these awesome kinds of people that they can go and follow and check out on YouTube and Twitch as well. So please go and check out in the description. Everyone that is here, I've also included their links for purchasing the game, which does also support them as streamers and content creators. So
I don't think I ever gave that to you.
Yeah, you said you didn't want to put it in there. So
Have you changed your mind now, Boots? Would you like to?
I mean, sure.
Well, then give it to me.
We'll see one day.
You were the one who told me not to. Okay. Well, you can give it to me. It's fine.
Well, because I was like, you guys deserve it more, so like.
Oh God! Don't start.
My God!
Jesus.
You don't get out of here, Boots. You deserve it the most.
Oh, come on.
Get out of here. No,
Well,
don't get
in
out
Guild
of here.
Wars 2, I've been
Stay.
fishing a lot, and on the show, I fish a lot as well.
Okay. Oh, it's fish. Okay, it's
Or
all right. You're allowed to
compliment.
fish. That was good. That was very impressive. Putting the pro and promo. Yes, trying to. Chat as well. Let us know what you thought about the roadmap as well, because actually that wasn't what I was going to talk about this week. I was actually thinking, what are we going to talk about? Then the roadmap came out. I was like, cool, that's good, because now we can talk about that. But we're thinking about, so start thinking about things that you might like to see refreshed in the game, because this is pretty much what the roadmap is about. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of read through bits and pieces. People may use other accents that are different from their own. They may just speak normally. Yeah, it's
I don't know what
really
you're
up to
talking
them.
about.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm just warning people.
I don't
They
think we
may
had a
not
discussion
speak
about
at
that.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, they may, just,
Yeah,
may
we
not
might-
read at all. Yeah.
Might do interpretive dance to communicate the blog post, so make sure you watch the video version of the
Ooh.
podcast. You know, we'll see. We'll see where the
Interpretive
winds
dance.
take us.
You're qualified, so
Only if you wear that kimono.
That's gonna take me a lot
I
longer
was
to
gonna
get
say,
into.
yeah.
So.
We've been talking about that before. I thought there was. If you haven't checked out this, you've got some footage on like is it Instagram you put on or Twitter?
I put some up. I have some more to put up too, but yeah, no, it was really cool. I just recently, for anybody, this was a real life thing that happened.
Yeah.
Went to do Bon Odori, which is bone dance, Bon B-O-N dance, which is a part of a Japanese holiday, the Obon season, and is like a dance festival to honor the dead and or people that have passed, or even pets or those we've loved. And you party all night basically and dance together, so that was really fun, and it was really nice to be out with people. So yeah, I put some stuff up. But
And you
yeah,
did it
just
on your
posted-
own as well, didn't you? So that's even more brave, like going out there and doing something like that. Like,
I did. Yeah,
good.
I feel silly
good.
because I've been like talking about it to everybody, but honestly, it's mostly just because like for so long, especially pre-pandemic in the city, it was like I want to do something and I want to go out and I want to like explore all these things, but I think a lot of us can get kind of hung up on, you know, well, if I don't have a friend or if somebody won't go with me,
Yeah.
and I know I talked myself out of doing a lot of things because of that, and things that I've had like bookmarked or activities that I wanted to do for ages. And so yeah, this was like one where they opened it up again after pandemic, and I was like, I'm going. And like even when I was there, everybody was just so welcoming and friendly for the dance rehearsals, and people would ask like, who did you come with? And I was like, myself. Just me. They're like, that's so brave. But I mean, honestly, I am so glad I did it because it was much needed. I just needed to, you know, do something bold and get out. And
yes. Yes.
yeah, I learned a lot. So
And yeah, open yourself up to all the things, that is for sure. Yeah, good. Try it, people. Suggest if you're able to and you want to do something and you can't do it, there's no one else that wants to do it with you, to just go do it anyway, because it's worth. Okay, gonna go through this. Oh crap, I didn't get the other screen ready. Balls. Okay, it's gonna be fine. I'll see if I can just do it now. It's gonna be okay. First of all, general, like what's actually maybe if someone wants to read it first of all. Although, let's ask Boots, how's your leveling going to fishing wise to 80? Just update us while I fix this screen.
I am at level 55 now.
Cool.
So I've got 25 levels left, and it's going all right.
Wait,
so yeah, you get with
sped
all
up?
the.
I thought you were level 40 before.
I was at 45 last time we checked.
Really? Wow, Jesus, that is quick.
Yeah, it's about if you have all the experience boosters, because experience boosters don't work on, you know how there's like kill streak experience boosters and experience from kills and experience from this and that. There's none specifically for fishing, so the most you could get is like a certain amount more. Anyway, with all the boosters you could actually use, you get it's about 57 fish per level. And so yeah, it's a little slow going.
Okay.
It's actually slower than just killing enemies.
Yeah, no, we know that's why it's kind of that's why I was like surprised that you got that far.
Well, I mean, anybody can kill an enemy, but the artistry, the craftsmanship involved in fishing, it's just so great that you got to put more into it to get results.
Yeah.
Are you pacifist leveling?
Yeah. I mean, he technically it's a ranger, and the bear might have accidentally killed 2 mobs, but that was not his fault. That was the bear's fault.
I really do like. Okay, did you pick a bear specifically because like bear do like salmon fishing and stuff?
Yeah, his name is Salmon Rushdie.
Oh my god. Salmon
That's so cute.
Oh my god.
I love this. I love old fisherman boots and his bear.
Yeah, and but yeah, so he is leveling entirely through fishing. To get to certain lakes and rivers and stuff in the game, he has gotten a little bit of experience from exploration, but I could not avoid that.
You have to. There are certain things which we will allow in this playthrough.
And the award for most adorable Canadian this year goes to
And every year goes to Boots, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Let's do that. That's okay. We can get that award made. I'm sure it's possible. Okay, good. Now that was perfect timing. Well done.
I successfully
Good job.
delayed.
You did. Very good. Professional. Okay, Guild Wars 2 Summer Roadmap. Wow, I failed on the reading. Summer Roadmap in July 19 update preview, which is next week. Oh, that's very close, isn't it? It's just by the team. Okay. In June 2022 studio update, we mentioned that we'd be back in mid-July to share our release roadmap from... What is going on? Stop clicking on that. From now through the end of summer, we have that for you, plus a preview of next week's update. Oh, let's go to it. Who wants to take the first bit?
You?
Me? I don't. Okay,
You do it, Jebro.
I can do the first bit, and then someone take up the world's best world boss. Apparently, I can't read today. That look. Oh no!
Okay, maybe he can't do it.
Wow, okay, you know what, Jebro, we'll
Clockwork
take
chaos
it. You know
begin.
what?
It's because of the clock thing, and the other day, like someone clipped a thing, and I said a different word other than clock.
What word was
I
it?
can't.
What word?
It was a word. The third episode of Living World Season 1 returns on July 19th. Wow, we've got the next episode. That's so good. And it is Scarlet. Scarlet is going to be... Oh, look at Scarlet with the... Oh, I love it. Puppeteer. I love this. This artwork is... Oh, so good. So good. It's going to come with other things. Queen Jenna is preparing to wrap up her Gala Jubilee with a momentous speech to her loyal subjects and visitors. Ooh, but the nefarious villain Scarlet Briar has other plans. As a reminder, Living World Season 1 content is free for all players, permanently. Complete the original episode achievements and new achievements to earn rewards. We'll talk about the things as we go through them, so this is the plan. Are we excited for next week's release of the first episode? Sorry, the third episode?
Yeah.
Yes.
Of 5?
Yeah.
Right? Is it 5 episodes? I think
There's
it is.
going to be
Right?
5 total.
Right. Okay.
I think for the whole season, and we at least now generally with the roadmap and what we'll see later, at least have an idea with 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So
It is coming out.
I'm really excited it's coming out next week. It feels like it's right around the perfect timing, especially given the fact that we're just coming off of some of the sort of high of the race to world's first with Harvest Temple CM and everything else that's happened since then. So having this little bit of lull, I know I've been working a lot of just sort of general grind stuff out, work on first legendary kind of content, but I'm definitely ready for some more story and really looking forward to this and to actually finally seeing Scarlet in this game.
Right.
Because I have never seen her.
Oh, you've only
Wow.
seen... So the only time you've probably ever seen Scarlet is with my mini pet out.
Yeah, would it surprise you to know
And it's a
that
hologram
Scarlet is
version.
actually 2 feet tall?
Yeah.
Is
That's
she
just
really
based
canonically?
on
Amazing.
canonically based on a
Wow.
small hologram.
Yeah, that would surprise me. I guess we'll see if that's the truth or if you're all lying to me right now.
Yeah, well,
I would
we'll see.
never.
And it's only going to be in one episode where the whole thing just comes out that was a thing. Yes. So
Yeah.
it is. I am very excited for that to be the case. It is going to be. Still remember the things that are going to come afterwards as well. I'm going to try and spoil them too much. I've said Attack on LA. I think we all know about that. But yeah, no, it's exciting, isn't it, Fornax?
It is. Look, I played through it originally, so for me playing through it again, the story feels quite disconnected because we had all the connective tissue of the in-game activities with the refugees and the reports and all, like the build-up that we had when Jormag was coming out. We had those little narrative threads leading us in, but it's incredibly important for players like Rook and for the new players who are going to be coming in with Steam that the community desperately needs and the game needs to grow. So I am 100% behind this, no matter how this is old hat for me. This is not for me. This is for new players. It's nice to have a complete game finally, but this is definitely for new players and players like Rook. And I love that they're so happy about it. And I want the game to succeed. So yeah, go.
Yeah, I agree. It is definitely for the new players. But even for me, who's played it originally, I forgot a lot of the stuff that's in it. So I think Harold, you do a lot of lore videos. And so because of that, you're probably a lot more intimately aware of all of the inner goings on of everything that happened in the story than me. But I definitely did forget a lot of the first two episodes, the little intricacies inside of it. I actually thought that they added a ton of content in those two episodes because of it. But no, I think it's just stuff that happened that I forgot about. And yeah, so I'm interested to see what I forgot in this episode as well and what I forgot about Scarlet.
You're actually so right. I literally did a 3-episode lore in-depth dive into Scarlet Briar, and then the week after, they said we're releasing all the episodes. I'm like, oh
no.
Yeah, we're gonna go through that with a fine-tooth comb. Okay. No, that's a pen.
I honestly think it'll be really cool to compare.
You have a comb? I'm quite surprised. Sorry, carry on.
I have facial hair. I sometimes grow longer facial hair. I do actually own 2 combs.
Wow. Okay, I'll have to see them. Carry on.
There's a debate now. I'm gonna go get them.
Yes. I think it'll be really interesting to even compare the videos to what the adapted version. I haven't necessarily felt, I guess, playing through it myself for the very first time, I haven't felt too much like the episodes have been super disconnected. I don't know if that's because I had done my own research and at least know the structure of what happened in the season, which kind of maybe fills in some blanks of various things.
Yeah.
But I never played it originally, so I felt like for the most part, the kind of direction of each of the episodes that we've had so far hung together pretty well for me. I think maybe there could have been a bit more of a throughput emphasis in each episode where we get some kind of line like, so weird, all these mysterious things that are happening at the same time. What could it be? I don't know. But overall, I think the greatest luxury that Living Season 1 had was the fact that it was more of a slow burn suspense kind of thing, right? Where, from my understanding, although of course these were coming out very fast, but the things that were culminating, these different factions and the different groups, and is this all part of something bigger, or are these just temporary kind of little groups that we're having to deal with while they get ready for the next expansion or for whatever bigger picture story beats they were going to do. But I do think we have gotten a pretty good sense, at least for me personally playing through it, with some of the little nods and the mentions of the different people, the figure that these different groups are serving, and the journal entries that were part of the stuff with the Molten Alliance. And these different little mentions we've gotten, it does feel like I'm still getting a sense of throughput. So I feel like there will still be a good payoff with Scarlet personally, but that's just coming from somebody who is experiencing this first time, you know, like to me, I haven't felt like it's been really jarring, and I've actually felt like it has almost cast the whole rest of the game for me in a really fantastic light that I am so happy to be experiencing with these characters and so much of the stuff that I was just dumped cold into in season 2. In chat, I see everybody saying like, well, technically you've gotten glimpses of Scarlet before, maybe, and
it's
yes.
Not, it's not the same though. Yeah.
But it's not the same because I've literally never seen her alive as a villain that I'm going to face. Like, I have just heard about her from people. Like, I don't know, some person you hear about that was a friend in the friends group or something, but you yourself never met, that for years you've just heard talked about, and the ripple effects of them, like, you know, and their presence.
And then when you finally see them in person and found out that they're like 3 feet tall, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, well, I really had this different image of you this whole time.
Yeah, so like,
I guess there's the evidence bits that you can
I've only seen you in Zoom chat, and from there you just see the torso, so I assumed you were a normal sized person.
Like
but you were 3 feet tall.
Exactly.
The minion was actually you the whole time. I am so excited because like for so long I've heard about her, seen her referenced, or seen ghosts of her, or seen, you know, memory flashbacks of her, or heard, you know, but I've never actually seen her alive in this game. So I'm really pumped. I think it's gonna bring a lot of things together.
That's great. I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna try to look at your reaction for that as well when you actually see her. But So you were saying when originally that there are foreshadowings and stuff like that, and you thought that there might be an expansion coming up. You never know. Actually, back then there was no expansions coming up. So all the little tiny releases, all the little like.
Well, technically that's not true.
Is that not true? I mean, they weren't planning on expansions. In season 1.
They definitely knew. I think they knew they were going to be doing the expansion then.
Really, at the beginning of season 1, they knew they were doing an expansion.
I think maybe they did because they changed their mind.
The player base didn't know that.
Oh no, we didn't. But I think like I don't know.
The player base
we
thought that the 2-week cadence of episodes coming out was going to be.
I think you're right with that. I think they started to probably move towards. As that story was kind of evolving, I think they were moving towards an expansion model. That's when I think they were, maybe.
I think both is true. I think they were always planning to have the story that we had with the Sylvari. It was foreshadowed in the very first, in the like opening salvo. If you play a Sylvari character, the embedding and the foreshadowing of the story is right in there. Whether it was going to be delivered to us as an expansion or whether it was going to be delivered to us in that insane cadence that they had at the beginning, which was unsustainable. Yeah, and then there's a dice to
I agree, that was probably unsustainable. But what I was going to say, though, is that like all the little allusions towards what eventually was Scarlet being revealed, at first I really didn't think it was going to be Scarlet. I thought it was going to be... because it was Flame and Frost, right? So I was like, wow, I guess we're getting the Ice Dragon and the Fire Dragon right away.
Yeah, that was weird. it was a weird start to it. Like it was kind of cool. I guess it was like it was kind of a twist as well. And I think the questions before Heart of Thorns was going to be like, will they? I remember like some fan theories where like, you know, is there going to be an enemy faction? Like if we're going to be able to PvP in open world maps, so suddenly Sylvari is going to be this enemy faction that's going to turn against us and all this kind of stuff. Are we going to have that option? And all this kind of thing. Is it going to be brand new skins for the Sylvari and things like that? I remember that being a conversation I had with people. That was fun.
There were also a lot of salty Sylvari players. I can tell you that much. Yeah.
Did you? Wait. Actually, maybe you could answer this for me, Harold. Mm-hmm. Have you gone through the new versions of the season 1 releases yet?
Yep.
And what illusions or what
have you not played them, Boots?
No, I have, but I'm trying to remember. Like, I didn't go really deep inside them, but I did talk to Ellen Keel in the most recent episode at the thing, and Ellen Keel's voice line was talking about Kanak being in jail, And at that point, I don't think we had seen Kanek in the story at all.
I think they've skipped him.
So I was
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're missing the Karka invasion of Lion's Arch.
Right. So do you think that that's going to come out after?
Not a hope in hell. No.
Yeah.
They said in an interview that
some things are going to get
something
cut.
that had to be cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they did say that's.
But is the
specifically,
introduction of Kanek going to be in the story at some point?
I think didn't they did the scrying pool version thinking for him and I think that might be.
I think that's all she wrote.
I really truly hope not.
I know.
I hope not so much.
Hope not too, because I think the part of the reason why they're doing this is to connect everything together in a streamlined storyline, and it's taking things that were in the scrying pool originally and putting them in these episodes.
I mean, they kind of said it though. They're gonna have to just cut some stuff. I know doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna. I agree with you. I completely agree with you. But I'm just wondering, like.
Yeah, I'm just asking whether you think they're gonna introduce them some other way.
Yes, in that interview, if I'm remembering correctly, they mentioned that Alcon Cove is being cut, and then they said. This is one from a couple months ago, I think. And then they said that means that we now have to figure out different ways for pivotal character introductions.
Yeah, okay. So I'm wondering how that's going to happen.
Yeah, my guess is that they're going to rework it. That's my hope, that he will show up in one of these episodes and have some kind of introduction, whether that's that we do find him in prison and Ellen just makes some allusion to what happened on South Sun. I don't know. I kind of hope they don't go that route, because then it will feel like there's also now a big hole for players who don't understand what that is. It's also kind of unfortunate for the map itself, because, no joke, as somebody who just started playing the game in the last 3 years, I didn't even know what that map was until, I don't know, somebody told me to go there for some reason. I think maybe it was for a guild mission with a crab toss or something. And I walked on the map and I was like, where in the hell am I? Like, there's like a meta going. And I was like,
you have to get a boat.
meta?
Did you have to get a boat there, or was it a portal?
I don't know how.
I think you talked to someone in Lion's Arch.
Yeah, you have to. That's how you used to get there. Yeah.
It was sorry. I wanted to finish this thought really fast. So I didn't know what in the world that map was, and there was nothing else that led me organically there. So that was a little confusing. However, I do think that narratively, we don't need that. Like, I don't actually think that the Karka, and maybe this is a big thing for people who feel like this, but I don't actually think that the Karka exploration really, that whole map and everything else that happened to Consortium, to me, it doesn't feel like it had the long-lasting staying power of narrative impact other than the characters that were introduced. And I've seen a lot of people talking about, like, well, but then we won't know about Ellen's arc and stuff like that. But I've got to be real with everybody. Ellen's not even on my radar. I know she exists. I know her name. I know she's technically a leader of Lion's Arch. But as somebody who played through the game without ever having touched Living Season 1, I genuinely barely even registered her as a footnote, because of the fact that she does not, she's not actively out engaging in any of the other story beats, right? Like, she's not going out into Heart of Thorns. Maybe she shows up and talks about some stuff, but like, she's not in many of the duty instances that we have. She's not there. Our friends group here at the end, in End of Dragon, somebody who plays a major role, visibly in that narrative. So for me, the difference between, like, do we put Ellen's story in or do we put Kanak's story in, is the fact that Kanak as a character is present in many expansions moving forward, and is somebody that I genuinely felt like, why does everyone like him? I don't even understand he's here. And it's like,
he's a weird one though, because in the EOD he's not really that present. Like, they kind of bring everyone around together, and kind of Kanak is a very side role-y kind of supporting
that might be
role. Even not that, right?
That might be because they changed voice actors and they didn't want to bring too much to it.
Potentially.
Can I counter some of this? Can I put my
I'm gonna give us like 5 or so more minutes, because we are literally on the first paragraph, and we've been going for an hour.
So I would say that those little stories, it tells you why Lion's Arch looks the way that Lion Arch looks right now. If you don't know why it looks the concrete hellhole that it is. This is why, this storyline is why. If you care about the Master of Peace and why he's in the story, then that is the connecting thread through. And what I would like to see them do is I would like to see them make strike missions or a raid of this. So we go over to Sun Cove. We do a raid of killing them. We do a raid of interacting with Kanak. He can be a raid boss, and we can then get his motivations. We can even they can even be like chasing him across the map and him explaining what he's doing, and you know, like they did with season 2 when we were chasing that crazy Sylvari. And then we get the Karka invasion. So now we're in Lion's Arch. We're doing a raid to kill the Karkas, and now you care. And now you're here, and now Ellen Keeley's here, and now we know that Kanak was in prison then. Sorry, spoilers. Okay. And now we know that he didn't break out, and he did choose a different path, and we can see the pivotal moments of his story, and we can understand that's the time when he was introduced to the Countess, so that this is all like so interwoven. So I would like to see them do it in strikes or a raid encounter to get people in, to have the story and not lose the important main connective tissue.
I too would like it as the more raids and the more strikes the better. But I think that the direction they were trying to go for at least these particular episodes is to have all the necessary story in a story version for all of them. So not have to go into a raid or a strike mission. And strike missions coming out, it seems, are going to be taken from the stories as well, right? As at least the 4 Fermented Dragons are. So I think that if they do have a strike mission or raid of Kanak, it would start as a story boss fight of Kanak first.
I do like the possibilities that stuff like the new emboldened system that we got offer, though. It would be interesting to see somewhere within the actual narrative lineup if they wanted to go that route, because Fornax, I agree in the sense that, like, I'm sure they probably want to be developing raids that, again, are maybe more forward looking if they're going to put that time and energy into it, and that would be like massively epic or, you know, whatever. But they have so many interesting assets and stuff from South Sun, and if they really didn't have time narratively, it would be interesting to see that format utilized, especially if, like, in our story journal or something, you would see a little like footnote. I don't know how they would do this, but if it's like, here's all the narrative, and then there's a footnote in there that's like South Sun Cove raid, you know, like, or like narrative story, go to here to do it, or like, and then it would be more accessible, especially if at release they had it for, I don't even know, like a couple weeks or something with that emboldened system, or just something like that to get people into it to play the narrative version. Or I don't know. It's something that they could do because, for example, like in 14 with their raids, although I think they're very different beasts. So this is not necessarily something I think has to be like we have to hold everything to the standard of 14. It's just that, like, it is interesting because they go all in with story on the raids, but they also very clearly have a differentiated normal version and then the savage version for raids. And they did that directly in response to the community response, because when they first released raids,
everything.
Oh
wow!
So
okay,
like,
that's cool. I didn't know that.
When they released the first raid ever in 14, there was no differentiation of difficulty, and it was also one of the most important narrative beats to the entire ending of A Realm Reborn. Yeah. But it was behind what at the time was one of the most impossible pieces of content for the vast majority of players to do. So they later on separated it out to have this normal and to have this kind of savage mode. So I think that they could do something like that. Will we see them do something like that? No. I think I would be much more, I mean, maybe not, maybe, I don't know. But I'd be much happier if we at least just got some kind of intro to Canuck this season. that allows you, even just like a quick, I don't know, but that allows you as a player to meet him in your own way, form a connection with him that feels tangible and unique to you. Because he does come in Living Season 2 and he's kind of introduced as this prisoner and stuff like that. But even so, I always felt like I was starting in the middle of a sentence with him, and that I myself had no direct connection to him as a character, because I was just like, oh, he's some guy that was in prison? Okay, which is very different than meeting him as an almost like Robin Hood figure, or a figure that was a rebel with a cause, or that had this kind of good intentions but bad execution, or I don't know, those things that think
you got the redemption arc, but you never got to see him be very naughty. That's the problem.
Yes. And have that connection be something that like directly was affecting you, right? Because like you were working with him, but also against him, and that tension of character, it's something that I think is really pivotal to him and his setup for when he does become a true ally and the journey that he takes. But if you're missing a little bit of that, it's just kind of hard to have that same connection with him, because you don't really understand why he was in prison. You don't really know why you should trust him. You don't really know why you would even like him. You don't know, but he's just a guy that's there and he's kind of smarmy, and I like that about characters. But like, so I hope we get something in some way. Raid is an interesting idea, though.
As a 14 player, I mean, if I was at my Daddy I Want a Pony stage, I would say, please give us an encounter, an instance, like maybe the scrying pool ones, or the dragon strike crappy missions that everyone hated, but better, with actual story that we care about, and have it so that I can play through it by myself and enjoy this. No, nobody likes them. Nobody likes them. I don't care. They don't. They're not good. That's why they're not here.
Yeah, some of them are okay.
Honestly. If you haven't got anything better to do, like gouging your eyes out with a rusty old spoon.
I think the challenge is okay. Like I think that. Anyway, that's a different conversation. Continue.
Why is everything just a break bar? No, I'm not going down this road. I'm happy. I've had a happy day today, so no, we're not.
Have you? Mm-hmm.
I have, astonishingly.
I'm so glad.
Is it as good as going to Costco?
Considering I didn't know what Costco was 24 hours ago.
That's true. Well, you didn't know what it was like 3 hours ago. So.
3 hours ago. My beautiful husband, got me an OLED Switch.
Oh,
so
really?
I have just been
Nice.
hitting that bad boy hard. So that's I'm in my happy place. Okay.
nice.
But yeah.
That's cool.
Sorry, totally derailed the conversation. You make
That's
okay.
my specialty. I appreciate it.
Does that mean we can move on? Because we've only gone
okay.
through 4 lines of the road.
I'll read the next part here.
Well, really fast, the very last thing I want to touch on is that I am really excited this is coming out. I'm really excited that they've been able to keep their pace and that we are getting these, and they've been such quality. And I'm so pumped to meet Scarlet. Like, that's the big takeaway from this.
Good.
All other narrative discussions aside, I really think they've done a great job so far, and I'm personally really pumped for this.
It's fine.
Is that a marshmallow?
I said
That's
wand.
my wand.
Oh, okay.
A marshmallow? Holy
I
crap.
thought it was roasting a marshmallow. And you know how
Roasting?
sometimes you
That's
leave it in too
literally on
long and it
fire.
catches on fire and then you have to blow it out and then it turns all...
Okay.
Yeah.
This is peak Canadian. It's just that those rose-tinted Canadian glasses for everything.
That is amazing. I really need to go and do this, apparently. Set fire to stuff.
All right,
Marshmallows
so
mostly.
next section.
Yeah, world boss.
World's best world boss. World boss encounters are some of the most unique and quintessential Guild Wars 2 experiences, with each requiring dozens of players to band together in pursuit of a common goal, defeating the baddie. They do an excellent job of showcasing the highly social and collaborative gameplay that Guild Wars 2 is known for. 4 of these world bosses reside in low-level starting zones that are the first large-scale encounters that new players experience as they venture into the world of Tyria. These bosses were first introduced nearly 10 years ago, and since then we've significantly raised the bar on our encounter design standards. It's important that these encounters leave a strong first impression for newer players and continue to be enjoyable for veteran players, so we've given each a bit of love as we prepare for the future launch of Guild Wars 2 on Steam. In the July 19th update, we'll be making some improvements to the Great Jungle Worm, Shadow Behemoth, Svanir Shaman Chieftain, and the Fireland Elemental World Boss events. Our goal is to bring them up to our current design standards by adding skill telegraphs and defiance bars, improving encounter mechanics, and rebalancing health pools to accommodate the power level of modern profession builds. The Great Jungle Worm, Shadow Behemoth, Svanir Shaman Chieftain, and will also receive some model and texture quality improvement. That's good. And one champion loot bag will be added to the completion of rewards for each event. These changes will give players a better preview of the gameplay and boss encounters they will see in the future adventures interior.
That's great. So this is the biggest thing that
huge,
think is probably from this map. Well, I guess personally, anyway, as well. But like probably for a lot of people, it's funny because I also hope they do that to the bosses in the tutorials as well. Maybe just add a little bit. Like, I mean, I know it's a tutorial, but like I guess they're pretty epic anyway. But like Shadow Behemoth, when I first played that in beta, like, oh man, I was like, world boss, what's this?
Shadow Behemoth definitely is the best one of those four too.
Oh yeah,
it's whenever I see a new player playing or trying to get into the game, I'm always like, go to Queensdale as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Go check out that. It's 15 minutes. Get there as quickly as possible. It's just visually, it's fantastic. And yeah, they're right. The mechanics are not fantastic, especially now since, you do the world boss train and there's just a bunch of people knocking it down. It doesn't actually do anything to you, really. You might get knocked down because you're in this large AoE that's not well telegraphed, but it doesn't really matter. If they could update all of these, it'd be really good.
It's got the spectacle. It just needs the substance now.
Exactly. And they're saying that the other three, not Shadow Behemoth, are getting the spectacle added a little bit possibly to them as well.
I love it. I'm so happy for this. I genuinely think that the world bosses and the metas are some of the real showstoppers of Guild Wars 2. They are events that consistently, anytime I'm streaming the game and somebody has never seen Guild Wars 2, if I am in a meta or I'm fighting a world boss, they are like, what is this? And every time I get to be like, this is just open world content in Guild Wars 2. And, it's one of those things where any of the drawbacks of it, any of the, like, maybe, yes, if there's a billion people and the boss has a ton of effects, you're a little laggy or like whatever, it literally does not even matter to me because they are so cool and so memorable and on such a scale that almost no other game attempts to do, right? Like, you might have a world boss pop up in almost any other game that I play, and like, sure, it's probably bigger than other character models, but it is not like a literal dragon descends from the sky and waves of like undead are coming at you, or like portals into the mists are torn and all these spirits and monstrosities come pouring out. Or, I mean, it's just like absolutely incredible. And I still to this day remember the very first world bosses that I was taken to in the game, and Shadow Behemoth and the Fire Elemental, and even those fights in their unpolished states, unpolished, I guess, older states, because they were created
states,
outdated states.
And that's okay.
Like, even with that, I still was so blown away. So to see these get that attention and that love and some reworks, I know Nick's been working on them, and they've got these new models and all sorts of other stuff. Like, this is going to be such an effective way to, again, without having to completely overhaul the entire core game, create really memorable experiences for new and old players alike. And I think help get that impetus for players to keep going and want to see, well, if this was in the base game, what else is out there, Well,
it's the preparation for mechanics as well, and understanding that this is the way the game is towards more end game, like, in filtering that kind of discovery of that and understanding what the game is kind of like as you move through it as well. Because really, the behemoth and other things, you can just sit under the mouth and just sit there and damage it. And like, it's the same with Svanir Chieftain, you just go there and hit a thing, but there's pre-events. And that isn't really, I'll be interested to see if they've kind of done something with the pre's leading up to these events as well. That we call Fire Elemental as well. You just kind of sit there and everyone looks at each other's mounts and it's there for like a minute. It's just like, I've been doing it recently.
Does stuff.
Sorry?
Other people do stuff for you. for the
Oh yeah, no,
pre-events,
that's what I'm
usually.
talking about. Well, but like, you know, there's some more emphasis on a little bit more
maybe.
put in for those where you do have to do a little bit more. It would be cool.
Maybe.
But like you have to go back to a lot of these boss fights in like Hope Journey and Journey for like other things, variants and stuff like that. So they can go, you know, connect those. It's really good. And I think the model update, they are going to be updating the model as well. The models. I'm interested to see how different they're going to be. Like how different the models are going to be. Is Chieftain just going to be this complete just evolution? Like, is it just going to be this big thing? What's going to happen? Is Behemoth going to get a little bit more like substance to it? I don't know.
Right now, Chieftain is definitely the most underwhelming one.
It's just a guy.
It's just a guy, but there is a giant elemental there. It's just you have to crane your head up to see it, and you never actually notice it's there until it's done.
The effects are like just so loud. They cover it. As well.
Yeah. I'm interested also to see, they say a champion loot bag's added to each of them.
Just one.
Are there going to be unique rewards in the champion loot bags? Probably not, but at least it means that you'll get something more than 2 greens and a blue for these guys.
I mean, you get your guaranteed rare, right?
You get your guaranteed, yeah. And now a champion loot bag on top of that, so you'll get some nice rewards.
They could be a little bit updated gold-wise, I think, as well. Maybe a little tiny bit more.
Maybe.
Be a little bit extra.
Maybe. I mean, honestly, people still love running world bosses.
Oh yeah, they're gonna stop.
Yeah, even just where they are as they are. I mean, it's one of those things where I think it's such a great, you know, there's the timers, we have the devices even in game that'll help alert you to what's going on where. It's a great thing to just kind of punctuate your game session and like run and do. You have the rewards. There's some of them that drop that, you know, have those chances at the special loot and other things. So I like that they buffed it up. I love, as has been pointed out, a couple of the updated models are visible in the post. They
that
put
is
them
the
on
updated
there.
ones. Okay, right.
Yeah. But I agree with stuff like the Spawnier Chieftain. It always did feel to me kind of like in your starting tutorial when you have the big thing that pops up and you're like, whoa, that's so scary. And then literally 2 seconds later, it's dead. And you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. I mean, I always kind of felt like that with him where I was like, yeah, it's just a guy. Oh, and the guy is dead. So I think that having some of these updates again will help a lot. I even saw in chat an interesting suggestion of something like, I hope they use these to even reinforce basic combat lessons like the break bar phase and stuff like that. Or even having like an ally line where someone yells like, it seems like he's impervious. We have to break his, you know, I don't know, his posture or something.
Break his posture?
I'm trying to think of like, because obviously you can't have somebody in the world
needs to be that now.
break his bar.
It has to be
There
that.
appears to be something blue all over him.
We must kneecap
do
them. To be... Oh god.
You
Oh,
must
look
make
at
him
that
fall
bar,
down.
and look, there's something appearing around their head and a small thing around their area. And now look, they did. Oh,
Use an ability to knock him down. I don't know.
Some kind of crowd control might be effective. I wonder what fear does. Or banish, for example.
Yeah, you know, they could do something like that. They could, but I mean, these are great lessons for stuff like that, and are really great, I think, teaching moments in that, like, it's always going to be hard when you have so many people and so much chaos. There is going to be less precision of, right, like very specific visible mechanics that people pick up on and very clearly can respond to as individuals when you have large scale events like this. But
I don't think they're supposed to be hard either, are they?
Well,
especially
yeah,
so early, right?
Even as we've seen with more recent stuff, right? Like when I think about, the fight with Drakkar, and when I think about, I mean, even just a lot of the fights in End of Dragons or anything, some of those markers, some of the things that they are using now in Strike Mission, some of those communication devices like a stack up or, you know, stuff like that, right? They still show in some of those large scale encounters and still teach great lessons of visibility that I think players then will see in raids and see in strikes, and responsiveness to mechanic tells. So it'll be great to see these reworked. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Fornax.
Holy.
I was going to say, I think that most of this is just about Steam. They need
That's what I was going to say.
It has to be.
They
Yeah.
need
Oh, yeah.
the
Absolutely.
starting game to be as polished as it can be, as pretty, as gripping, as tantalizing. Come and look at the shinies at the max level as they possibly can, and that is. And I'm 100% here for it, because if we don't grow the community, then the game dies. I want the game to be successful and have longevity. So polish that end game, polish
And the
that
beginning
start game. Yes,
Yeah.
polish the start game to perfection. I
Yeah.
want them to go back into the vanilla maps. I want them to go back. I want them to kind of overhaul and give more interesting events, and reflect season 1.
Yeah, I was going to say that I completely agree. They even mention it in the notes. They say this is because of we want things to look nice for Steam, and I think that's great. I think that they're thinking about the release for Steam, and it looks like they're going over and trying to correct a lot of little things in the game that are maybe pain points or just not so great look-wise for the game. That should get little changes to them, and this is one of them. I think Jebro even has an idea for the rest of the show where we talk about what are some other things that should be changed for Steam.
We do. We will have to get there. That is the thing. So we've got a little bit to go, and I feel like a lot of what we're talking about could come up during this. But this is a big part of the actual post itself. We've still got the roadmap bit, and we've got a little bit to go. But yeah, we can talk about this for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I just want to say that I haven't seen the community respond this way, but it has crossed my mind that the possibility for a response like this is possible. The response being, well, why are they only doing this for Steam, and why haven't they addressed any of this in the last 10 years? Again, I haven't seen anybody respond this way, but a little part of me braced myself for this because we all know how MMO communities can kind of be. So I guess and I guess just my own thoughts on that, in case these feelings are in places on the internet that I haven't seen, or, that it is something that people have been wondering about, is mainly just the fact that I honestly think that right now the decision to push to Steam is perfectly timed. This is something that you can tell, I think, has been on their radar for a long time, and that especially as platforms like Steam have gained more and more momentum, and as more games have consolidated onto these kinds of platforms, I think that working to push this out now, as we are on the advent of a new era in Guild Wars 2 and the culmination of what is sort of the original arc of the game's trajectory, is perfectly timed. And it's not unique to Guild Wars 2. We've seen several other MMOs currently that are hitting this same kind of anniversary benchmark, who have also had a lot of pain points in their games over the years, and likely just because of the nature of MMO development and that constant push forward, the next release, the next thing, try and bring people in with this stuff, don't always have the resources from expansion to expansion, from patch cycle to patch cycle, to go back and do the stuff that they might really want to do, but cannot necessarily have the allocated teams to do. So when you're wrapping up something like this, a 10-year story arc, and then you're pushing for a huge new horizon like Steam release, in case anybody sees these kind of reactions in the community from somewhere, I would just say, this is perfect timing and reinvestment for the future of the game. And now that they have a moment to start fresh with a new narrative, to start fresh with a new trajectory, this kind of maintenance, I think, is just better to pitch to say, hey, this is what we want to do right now in many ways, even just from a commercial standpoint for the big higher ups. And to coincide with something like Steam release, yes, we want our best foot forward. We want a new wave of players in this game. We want the community to be infused with new people, and to see even more and, more resources and allocation and, greater heights for the game in the future. So that's kind of what I've been just thinking about that recently, I guess.
Yeah. That question, if the player base would ask that, it would, to me, it's just such an obvious answer as to why it hasn't been done before, because they were working on the live game. They were working on giving new stuff to people. It's just such an obvious answer that it would surprise me if that is like a rising thread on Reddit about why didn't they do this before and wait till the Steam release. But things have surprised me before, so maybe people will ask that question.
Got a good answer for that, actually. I think I've got a good answer for that. I think a lot of the time that people have complaints about that is when the end game is suffering, when the end game isn't good, or when the end game has not been worked on. We just had an expansion, which was the best I would say, depending on how Heart of Wands is still very, very good. But I think, End of Dragons may peak it a little bit for me in different areas. It just depends. I think because we've still got mounts and just the strikes and everything that came from it. It was very strong. And it's not only proved to continue to be strong, but they have just had like this epic race that has just been, echoed out in the MMO world. And if that had not been in place, and if End of Dragons had not been as well received as it had been, I guarantee you that would have happened. 100% it would have, because it has happened in every single MMO RPG I've ever played, and I have played many since the age of 20. I've got 20 plus years of MMORPG experience, and this is something that happens very, very often. It's always a reply to a lack of something. This is something that happens as human beings as well. We respond to something because something isn't being met elsewhere. It's very psychological, actually.
And not everybody has the long view on things.
Yeah. They want that instant satisfaction. And nowadays, even more so, because of the way we engage with each other, the way we engage with social media, gaming specifically, patience
TikTok
is not as
culture.
high. Yes, it is. It's a legitimate thing. So really, honestly, it's a credit to the game that is not the case. Like, it is in a good spot. It's the best spot it's been. And if you want some numbers for how many people this is gonna put onto Guild Wars 2 potentially, Steam at peak gets over 25 million people logging in every day, pretty much at peak times. And there is 160 million people that use Steam. And at the lowest time, there's just over 17 million people on Steam.
Wow. That means there's going to be 160 million people coming into Guild Wars 2, guys.
You know what I'm trying to say? It's eyes.
No, I think you're right.
It's eyes, it's
true.
ads.
That's 100% true.
If you
heard it here first.
If you go onto the Steam charts as well, and you take a look at other MMORPGs, 31,000 people playing Final Fantasy 14 through Steam. That's Steam. It has a patcher. It has its own launcher. You've got ESO, which is like 25k. But a lot of people don't even play games unless they're on Steam, for God's sake. Like, because they're that anal about it. Because they want that launcher. And even they try and work it through, so they use Steam as a launcher. Sorry, go on. I wanted to just continue my thought before I forgot it.
Yeah, that's fair. Steam
That's
release.
helping you out there. You see that?
Yeah, thank you. I saw. Steam release. I've been to raise my hand whenever I have a question, and then Fornax, if you could also put up the question mark when you see me raising my hand, so that Jebro understands that I need to ask a question.
I know you can. I know. I just got to finish. You just got to wait for the thought to finish. Yeah.
There you go. Make your point. There you
go. My question is this: Steam release happens, a ridiculous influx of new players to the game.
It's free as well. People who know.
What should I stock up on to put on the trading post to maximize?
This is not the question for this point in time.
What to maximize my profits for all the new players?
Platinum, probably. Platinum's probably going to go down. It's like one of the most expensive flipping ores. It's so annoying.
No.
Anyway.
Anything to do with ascended items, because everyone is going to be going
those
there.
Those daily times, those daily one-offs.
I have one.
Create the silk and stuff.
Inventory bags.
Oh yeah,
possibly.
Although those are craftable though.
I think they're gonna put a load of those in the.
It's the fact that it's craftable does not mean that people will level their crafters and then.
No, but I mean,
you know what people are like. They will just want that stuff, don't they?
People will buy them off the trading post, but then the demand will be re-met by people crafting it who are already able to craft it and just Yeah.
I will say a compliment to the game. Considering that we are coming up on the 10th anniversary, I think that old content, that vanilla content, actually, and even the areas, they stand up really bloody well. Really, really well. I mean, I know that a lot of games like Final Fantasy is having a visual overhaul at the moment, and it's going through, and I think that's a good idea.
Fornax,
and I know that WoW
can we
has.
bring this back Can we bring this back after the post? Because this is relevant to later. Is that all right?
Oh.
Fine. No,
Because
no,
we can talk about what you think
fine.
it doesn't need a refresh. I'm not trying to interrupt. I want to make sure we pop it in the right place.
I am so good with this. You can tell.
I'm trying to do better. with
But
structure.
I learned this earlier. That just means she's drinking tea. So
That is actually true.
Yeah, you're angrily drinking tea.
Always. I'm British.
Okay.
We always angrily drink tea.
Remember your point, because I do. It is very relevant to Leia, and it is relevant now. I just want to make sure we get through the article, and then we can, because then we can just be a little, because otherwise we're not going to get through.
I appreciate that you have a button for that.
I always have a button. Yeah.
That was made probably for me.
That was made for you specifically.
Thank you.
Yes, it was. You're welcome.
Oh,
You're welcome,
I'm glad
dear.
we're friends. I don't mean that. I mean, I do mean that. What am I talking about?
I'm going to make a new one soon.
Right,
Will be a
good.
new one.
Good.
Yeah.
I
I'm
want
glad.
a special Herald emote.
I'm sure you can. Oh, there you go.
Aw, thanks.
Mine is the
Thanks,
question
Dad.
mark.
Who wants to read this next bit? Rook? Would you partake?
Yeah. Be really good. I almost accidentally hit the disconnect button while unmuting myself because
Wow.
my neighbors are
You
being
were
noisy,
just like,
so
no, I'm not doing it. Just
Would have been
rage.
perfect.
It would have been pretty
Perfect
funny, actually.
timing.
Would have been
All
good.
right, next up, simplifying and improving raid rewards. We are proud of the gameplay that endgame content like raids offers, but the perceived high barrier to entry makes it somewhat of a niche game mode. There's a lot of opportunity to grow the endgame PvE community, and one of our goals this year has been to break down some of the barriers discouraging players from jumping into the content. We feel that it's important for future Steam players to see that there is a healthy PvE community waiting for them at endgame. Yes. We've already taken a few steps towards our goal of making raid content more accessible. On June 7th, we made the Special Forces training area more accessible to give players an easier way to practice for raid content. On June 28th, we introduced the Emboldened system, which gives new raid players an easier on-ramp into the content as they learn the encounter mechanics and their roles. These efforts are already paying off, as a wave of new raiders have stepped forward into the content and cleared their first wing, and many have even chosen to charge on into later wings without Emboldened to bolster them. We'd like to extend our gratitude to the raiding community for welcoming these new players in and helping them succeed. We'll have the best shot of growing the endgame PvE community if we work together. In the July 19th update, we'll be making some changes to raid rewards to help address some long-standing pain points and reduce unnecessary complexity in raid currencies. All existing gating crystals are being converted to magnetite shards, and gating crystals as a currency will be retired. The weekly magnetite shard cap will be doubled from 150 to 300 to account for the previous weekly cap of 150 gating crystals. All rewards that previously required gating crystals to purchase will now cost magnetite shards instead. You'll still need to complete specific encounters to unlock their associated rewards, but now you'll be able to work toward any item you want to purchase by playing any raid.
Cool.
Additionally, yeah, I think it's super cool. Additionally, existing legendary divinations are being converted into legendary insights, and legendary insights are being converted from an item in your inventory into a currency. You'll now be able to purchase gifts of compassion and gifts of prowess from Scholar Glenna at the same cost as the previous Mystic Forge recipes for those items. Challenge mode raid rewards are also seeing a major update. Going forward, completing any challenge mode raid encounter will award a bonus chest containing 2 gold, 2 provisioner tokens, 10 magnetite shards, bonus experience, and a random exotic item. This reward can be obtained once per week per encounter. The top-tiered Terror Toppler achievement will be retired.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. Honestly,
five
no,
times
that
fast.
was good. Sorry. That deserves praise.
Yes. We believe it should be easy to understand the path toward earning a reward, and players should feel rewarded for the time and effort they put into learning and completing raid content. Simple as that.
Beautiful.
The provisioner tokens, man. Oh, that's going to be good for you,
That's
Boots,
good.
right? Like you talked about
Yeah, they're
raid
not that
stuff
hard to get.
earlier.
You get 12 a day.
Yeah, but you have to craft the stuff, don't you?
No, you just buy it off the trading post.
Yeah, but if we don't have money, like you've got to buy, like you've got to make all of these things and
It's
get the
like
recipes.
50 silver each. It's really not that bad. But yes, it is
wow,
good. It
money bags Boots over here.
it is good. It is good. I will say, do you think that the random exotic item has a chance of being a precursor?
I
That
mean,
would be so
if it's a bag, unless it's, I mean, you can get ascended, can't you? Or is it just? Wait,
It says
what did I
random
say?
exotic item.
I don't know, Nick. Do you know? Cheeky. I have to always check. Just sometimes someone says something.
All of these things are good, I think.
Isn't there just like the standard kind of rotation of exotic weapons that you get? You know, those kind of ones that everyone has a skin of if you've done the raids, and you can kind of they kind of sell for about 30, 40 silver or whatever. I think it's just the extra one of them, isn't it? I don't know if anyone's ever got a precursor from a raid, as it is.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no clue. Nick doesn't know.
Okay.
Damn it.
Honestly, I see. Honestly, there's so many things in this section, although it kind of all condenses down to the fact that they are unifying all currency into magnesite shards, that you will still need to complete prerequisite things. So it's not like, you can just buy the rewards for a boss or something that you've never done before, which I actually think is a really good move because it feels cool to like clear a boss and then have access to the unique things that are sort of tied to that.
Absolutely.
But also, maybe you don't want to run that boss and grind it every single week or,
Yeah.
So once you've actually gone in and you've completed it, just being rewarded for engaging with raid content, period, and then being able to work towards whatever rewards you want for that, awesome. Because I know, for example, that when I finished Zira and all the legendary stuff, I was like, I don't want to do this fight for at least 2 more years. I'm over it. I don't want to do it for many reasons.
Win free this week, people. I think.
I actually love Zira's design, but I personally find that
the
fight
gliding.
so.
Is it the gliding that's the worst? Or
It's the gliding thing where you angle it and then you clip the end of it and you fall to your death, or just all of the weird little things in that fight that just make it frustrating.
We are literally learning that this weekend.
And it's so satisfying when you complete it and you get to that special arena and you get your legendary thing unlocked. I loved that. It is a real highlight for me in my memories. But as an example, right? This incentivizes me to just continue engaging with raids, whatever those raids might be, then also get rewards for something that I have achieved in the game. So I like that. And then, of course, we have stuff like the additional cap, which I think is great. And then as well, the stuff like the reward for CMs, which I am also excited about, because it seems like right now, most of the time when I run with my weekly raid group, right, some of the CMs aren't so bad, but there's not really I don't know. It doesn't really feel like, for the most part, unless our groups just want challenge or for whatever reason, or there's something specific that, is tied to that. It doesn't seem like we are often just oh yeah, let's just learn all the CMs for this wing. We run it enough and we'll just do it. But with even 2 gold more per CM, I feel like for me, it's more on my radar to be oh, I don't know, let's just talk about CMs. You want to just do the CM? So okay, just get a little gold for that. Why not? I mean, might as well. So I honestly like that as well as a bonus for other things in there.
By the way, something blew my mind as you were reading it. The fact the gating crystals are being removed. I just realized that they're called gating crystals. It's a time gate. For the different things to get. Yeah, but never mind. It's gone now.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know. Yes. Yeah, the crystals. And someone said I think it was D, said, the kill proof thing as well. You don't have to spam your insights, which is just stupid anyway. Always found that a bit ridiculous. You must have so many to have raiding experience. Raids have been out for a long time. You could just have a lot. I've just got on one boss. What is that even a thing still? It's just ridiculous. Challenge mode raid wars, so that's great. I think they're great things. they're good. You know, it's nice to hear that people are moving from Emboldened onto other wings as well, and it's giving that oomph. We have literally, I think, one of the big things that came from Emboldened for for the community. There's some peeps from Lightbringers as well as like my own guild community. We have been doing the Emboldened. We've been going every week. So we did Wing 1, we did Wing 2. We've taken loads of people through these raids who've never done them before. But not only that, but they've learnt the mechanics, because we have gone to 5, like the level 5, and we have slowed down. And I've just said, right, when we completed Wing 2 last week, I said, we've got 3 minutes. This boss is at 12%. We've got this. This is good. But let's learn what's going on here. Like, you can see they're doing this. We've got the reflex for, you know, to make sure we get rid of the dome around the boss. We've got all these different mechanics, like dropping the poison. We're going to see if more people can get the poison. People really started to like nail that. The cannons on Sabbath, like, you know, we had one person on each cannon. You know, that tactic, that strat, one person knows they have to go and get the cannon. It's the easiest way to do it, honestly. Unless you've been doing that fight for years, you know, 2 people can do it. We all know all the ways you do it. Best way for people learn those fights is to do them how they were intended to be done. And then you can adapt that strategy and do it in a more efficient way for your community or whatever. But like, you know, Bobby Stein came with us and notably said, that is the first time I have ever done that fight and understood what went on. And he like, do you know what I mean? Because he was actively involved in going to a cannon and destroying. He wouldn't mind me saying that, I'm sure. But like, he actively went there and destroyed the cannon, came back, and that gave him the confidence as a person, as a raider, to be like, you know what? I can do that thing now, and I wonder if I could do that under pressure. So then there's the idea of going and do that without emboldened mode and seeing how that can go. So that was good. That was good. Even to hear like a member of RuneNet staff say that was like really, really awesome. He did say it live on the stream as well. And you know, we've got more people doing it. Sorry.
There are different teams that work on different things in video games. So like, you know what I mean?
Bobby's doing story, you know, he's not designing the mechanics of the fights and all that kind of stuff. He's very specific in his job. And it was nice to hear that from an employee, let alone anyone else. But there are other people, you know, who did say, you know, it's the first time I did Wing 2. Like, this really gets me invigorated to do raids. And even just to know that I don't have to do my best in this. Like, I can just play what I want. So I just literally said, like, people just bring whatever you want to bring. Because emboldened mode doesn't really matter. We're going to do it as long as we get the mechanics down. Damage is going to be fine. Healing is going to be fine. All that stuff's going to be fine. And then we'll get to the point where we try and, you know, finesse that a little bit more and people come with roles. I
do think there's one thing I wanted to bring up that you had mentioned, Jeb, right? So all of these improvements, I think, are fantastic when it comes to getting more people into this game mode, because there are always 2 components of everything, including this Steam release, and for the health of an MMO, right? We have new players. There's sort of the intermediary retention of players so that they transition from new players to the other group, which is veteran players. So we need to have a good balance of new players that are having positive experiences, that are feeding in and creating more veteran players that stick with the game long term, that invest and build foundational stuff for communities, like Jeb, like you were even saying, with taking people through, teaching the mechanics, teaching them, right? And we as players play a huge role in this system, because, you know, every single group that does raid groups, yes, should absolutely be saying, hey, are there new players? Do you want to come in and do emboldened now, right? Because we need to also be part of the process of creating stepping stones to get more people empowered and to take advantage of the systems that are in game and introduce people in, especially at this point. But like you pointed out earlier, Jeb, I think that at the beginning of the blog post, there's a line in here that says, we feel that it's important for future Steam players to see that there's a healthy PvE community waiting for them at the end game. So if there's one thing, and we can talk about this more later, but if there's one thing that I do think that we need to continue, I mean, and that does need to be on ArenaNet's radar, and I know they're thinking about this, right? It is the other side of this equation, the veteran players, many of whom may have left the game at various points that they weren't sure about the future of PvE. And I have always been someone that's like, this is something that I enjoy in this game. I really love this kind of content. But when it comes to hardcore, regular, or, you know, even just anticipating what the schedule for release is of PvE content, that has been a pain point for many people in the community that might structure their actual play bursts and or what they're looking forward to around that kind of content. And strikes have been an incredible asset. I think they even really needed a period of time just doing these strikes and the CMs to even just test out what is the full range of the future of mechanics we can do in this game. How can we explore boss design? Is this something that we want to lean into specifically, or do we ever want to do something like raids again? Fractals. And I think that one of the big steps as well leading into Steam release will be actually just addressing the community and telling them what is happening. Because like this,
I know what you're saying.
I'm saying this with trepidation because like I trust ArenaNet and I personally will be playing this game no matter what. But one of the big things that I have still see be a major hang up for veteran players is, will we ever get another raid wing? Will we ever have more fractals? Are these systems that will still exist, or is it all strikes from here on out? And personally, I feel like the strike mission content is phenomenal, but I do also personally believe that for the health and longevity of an MMO, you need to have varied ranges of PvE instanced content. And so I just hope that before, and I think that a big part of this factor of new players coming in and seeing that there is a healthy endgame PvE community, much of it is making it more accessible for players, and even just for new players to see coming into the game, I can do this. Because in so many other games, they can't, or it's really hard, or you have to grind so much gear, or there's all these hurdles you have to jump. And you don't have to in Guild Wars 2. You can walk in, all exotics, and just YOLO in Guild Wars 2. And there will be bosses where you can't do that, but there will be many bosses where you can. And you can start really getting into endgame in a way that I think is just so fluid and so wonderful that many other MMOs don't necessarily have to the same extent. But I think that they are also, to encourage these veteran players and to show that there is a promising future, they are going to at some point have to address what is happening with these other forms of content and what players can expect from them for the future of the game. Because right now I do think there is still an underlying current of trepidation within the community that's already invested in this or could be stepping stones for new players to learn. Sorry, that was long, but
no, I agree with you entirely. I think the issue right now, though, is that the strikes format that they're doing is it's a bit of an experiment in trying to get people into hardcore content more than they have been in the past. And I think they're learning what they could do with hardcore content from what they're seeing through what they're releasing with strikes. And so I think that we should get information about what we could expect in the future content wise, but I don't know if it's going to be immediately. I think they're first gonna get more data about the number of people joining in strikes, and I don't think we'll see raids come back at least until after Steam the Steam release happens. Probably the same thing with fractals.
Carry on talking, I'll be right back.
Okay,
you can talk.
Probably the same thing with fractals. I think the previous challenge mode that just happened and the reaction it got from the community and the reaction it got from outside the community was very hopeful, and I think that will probably go a long way to give ArenaNet the deciding power to do more of this type of content and more regularly. So I hope that it continues at a faster pace than we've seen. And I would like to know when the next strike mission, because the next thing they're going to do is a strike mission, not a raid or a fractal. I'd like to know when the next strike mission is, because it does seem like it should be tied to story. Is it going to be Scarlet on the Breachmaker?
It should be.
It should be, shouldn't it? Yeah.
But
Yes.
that wouldn't be until the end of this year, right? Because doesn't
Yeah.
it say that episode 4 is coming out? What was it, September? We'll go over it when we actually. Let me see.
Yeah, so this
Yes.
summer is season 3 and 4, so it'll be definitely after September. But they also didn't announce there are any strikes coming with seasons episode 3 or 4, so probably it'll be earliest final episode with the Breachmaker and a new strike. Hopefully they announce something about it.
I mean, the dream would be that no, they don't do a strike. What they do is they turn old Lion's Arch, destroyed Lion's Arch, into a massive raid.
Wow, that would be the dream.
That would
Yeah.
actually be really cool. And it could
Yeah,
be like an
that would be
optional thing. Like you could still have the story beat that very clearly would communicate to you that
Yep,
Lion's
yep.
Arch has been destroyed. But then they could take some of those challenges and some of the other things that happened within the destruction of the city and make it something like that players could engage with. That'd be really
Yeah.
cool.
They would need to add it as part. It would be part of the storyline as well. But if they could turn that into a raid, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. that
Yeah,
would be
because I mean, otherwise we have no other instanced PvE group content on the horizon until I'm assuming episode 5 is when Breachmaker would happen. Is that what we think, or 4?
5 would be Breachmaker, yeah.
5.
Yeah.
So that isn't. We don't even know. That would be after September, so the very end of this year, and then possibly a delay even after that for something like a CM. So in that period, to not have within any range of content, I'm not even just talking hardcore, right? Like, but you know, a new Fractal would be kind of equivalent to a new dungeon in many other MMOs. A new strike would also be its own, you know, kind of single challenge instance farmable thing. Raid Wing obviously much larger, but yeah, otherwise we're not going to be getting anything in regards to instance PvE until probably after September, which does seem like a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, all this is great. I mean, one, it's nice to see a design team able to look back and go, yeah, we've got too many currencies, we've got too many things cluttering up people's inventories. This is just bulk and unnecessary. And inventory, nobody's here to play inventory wars, right? So
Well.
yeah.
Speak for yourself.
Oh god damn. Wow. Yeah.
That's all I do.
Is that all you can come sort my bags out then?
It definitely seems that way right now with all the fish. But anyway, continue.
You have completely busted my chain of thought. No, so that's all great. I'm glad. I'm glad that they've got these new mechanics in. I'm glad that people are not being elitist pricks about the raids anymore, or they're certainly limiting that. I think that that's where the whole we must foster a friendly community business is, because there are some people who are elitist pricks and gatekeepers when it comes to raids, and and other games get around that by having automatic looking for raid groups, so no other you don't have to interact with another human being to get into the raid. Yeah, that's how other games deal with it. But so that's good. I'm happy that these changes are here, but there's a few unique challenges, I think, for Guild Wars 2. So they've tied one hand behind their back because they don't have the Holy Trinity. Okay, it changes the way that they
for matchmaking, yeah.
For matchmaking, so that there's no item level system or sort of gatekeeping to do with gear, other than people being horrible to you. So there's no Holy Trinity, so they can't have those very, very stressful kind of edgy fights that you get in other MMOs like Final Fantasy XIV. I mean, I've had my hair on fire running around and raids trying to heal. It's exciting. It's like heart-stopping stuff. So I think there's a limitation, or certainly they've made it more difficult for themselves because they have a more looser Trinity. But the real problem for me that I see going forward is that if they want to get into the same league as the big boys, if they want to be up there fighting for player retention with Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft, they have to have regular raid content. They have to have big raids where people can think that they can go in. There's prestige and the items. That's what the player base of MMOs generally want. And if they're trying to get that money, if they're trying to get those bums on seats, they're going to have to deliver at least some of that to get these like hardcore raiders in. That's my opinion anyway.
Are you still going on this? You're still going on this? This is good. This is good.
You told us to continue.
Yeah,
You told us to go,
I'm glad.
so we
no,
going.
I'm glad you got it.
Welcome
Yeah,
back.
sorry. I had a little client call. I'm still kind of on call technically on Friday, so I wanted someone called and I needed to. It was very important.
I mean, we could also talk about the pitiful loot reward system for all the effort that you put into raids.
I mean, we
Outside
could
of the
talk about
massive
the
collections that you have to do.
We could do talk about that maybe for the refreshing bit, maybe like, and put that there, maybe.
I have a whole list, by the way. I prepared this time. I have like a list of things. Yeah.
Well, we're almost there.
Yeah,
Okay, let's go.
I think basically, and you may have said this well as well. I think the initial point, which is something which I think we've always championed, maybe something, is communication. And I think because we don't have that communication of that, because this is an issue which has been around in this game for a long time, and one of the main times it occurred was actually PvP, when they ended competitive Pro League, and no one knew what was going on. Is it going to be happening again? Are we going to be doing it again? Is it going to be a thing again? No communication. Still, to this day, no one's really officially said it's over. Like, they've never really said that. They didn't.
I guess not.
Yeah, but it's insinuated by the fact that we know it's over now because it's been years.
Are you sure though?
There wasn't really any communication on that. It's like raids, it's left in the wind rather than saying we're done, we're going over there to do this thing. There is no.
Because it's always on the table, Jebro.
Well, is that the thing? That there's no communication at that, and I think certainty. People like when they invest in something. It's like it's the saying, isn't it? A dog's not just for Christmas. An MMO is not just for Christmas because we've been playing this. I've been playing this for 10 years. I'm pretty sure Boots and Harold, you've been playing this for 10 years as well. And Rookery is now going to be playing this forever. So you've been there for years.
Veteran.
So we all know our stuff. We've all been playing this game on and off for a long time. And I really do think at times there just comes a time when you just say, yeah, even if they said, this is just not off the table, we're not sure yet. Like we actually might be bringing this back. Even if you said that, then that would just be enough, I think sometimes. I think sometimes that's just enough, just as some kind of like glimmer. Or it's just a little bit of we've been thinking about this still. This is still something that's in the ether.
Every MMO needs a daddy Yoshi P. That is what every MMO needs. Someone to sit down at the table with pictures that he's printed out of the things that are coming and telling us all what's happening.
Like a show and
why
tell.
they've fucked up. Yeah, exactly. It's it's absolutely adorable.
Or what Jebro's saying, you could just have one dev
Just
one daddy dev.
One DM,
Branch does it, kind of.
Text towards the different communities saying, thinking of you, a smiley face.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think part of this, and this is something that we've talked about a lot, so we don't have to touch on it that much, but I think that part of why it's been so effective with Yoshi P and Koji Fox or whoever else he sits down at that table with is the fact that you actually see him as a person, and that we tend to empathize more directly with a human being that we see, as well as being able to control the tone, being able to give this kind of setting an emotional receiving space as well, if that makes sense. And I think that people are much more likely to misread into or not read at all just pure text. So the fact that they do these little, these little sit-down live streams, it isn't just this guy named Yoshida-san who talks sometimes on a blog post. It is this man who wears all these rings and makes these silly faces and becomes little memes for the community, and who, has his little piece of paper just like you characterized, right? When you were describing him, you have actual tangible memories of this man telling you about what's coming up. And like the times that the community has gone wild over him crying on stream because something got delayed, or like apologizing profusely and like bowing like, I am so sorry. It does not head off all toxicity in the community by any means, but it creates a very human picture of someone that is then characterized in your mind. And I think that there is a more of a sympathetic response with that.
It's tough to do.
I was going to say, I think the closest person in the community that we have is Ruby for that.
Yeah,
she is an incredibly humanizing character. She is a lovely person. You can tell she deeply cares about the community and the game, and she's really open and awesome.
So I just want to say,
her more.
I agree, and Ruby is definitely that for the game. I think, though, that it's not an easy thing to do, to be that focal point for a game, to be that person who both is there to, hype the game up and take all the flack when things go badly. It's a very difficult thing to do, as we've seen with what happened recently with the balance patch. Just like a dev was, harangued for no good reason. So I think that although it's fantastic to be able to have that for a game, that person, it's also a lot to ask of that person.
Oh, I agree. And I think that's why it takes, not every company will do this, right? But I think that companies that have found someone that is a good fit, or even outsourced it, right? Like in Warframe, for example, there are these two women, but one of the main ones is, I think her name is Rebecca, I want to say. And she even has like a cameo in the game as a character and like voices the character, but she is like essentially their face of broadcast. So like Ruby in that sense, right? So that if you have somebody that is a game director that, maybe doesn't have the time or the energy or the, to sit down and do the Yoshi P tabletop talk or whatever it is, there are other companies that have then started to more aggressively delegate that to a specific face for the company that is good as a host or good as a communicator, as a community interaction to voice these things. And we have seen Guild Wars 2 make efforts towards that, right? Like a lot of the live streams and things leading up to End of Dragons, we saw some great funny memes. The water thing, Nick's incredible
killing the cat,
beautiful flower shirts, the killing the cat, all of those things.
That's gonna sound really bad out of context.
Well,
killing the cat.
Megan, that's the other one. Yeah, who does Xbox specific communication. But think about how much conversation and almost more colloquial conversation that fostered in the community. Positivity, jokes, memories, these sorts of things, right? So I do think that not every company will do it. Not every company can do it. But I have seen it have very positive impacts on communities, especially within the MMO space, where the game itself is a living, breathing memory maker in many ways that you live through in years of your life with other people. So that personal connection tends to be something that even retains players in a sense, right? Because they don't just feel like this game takes their money and then gives nothing back. They are part of that game, that community, that living, breathing thing. They stick through it. They have their guild. They have the actual people they look up to. It's a very different relationship in MMOs with the player base, for good and bad.
For Final Fantasy, Yoshi P, it was Yoshi P, right?
Yeah.
Is he the director?
Yep.
He is director and producer.
He has many hats. The guy doesn't sleep.
So that's a very unique scenario too, right? That's like so even though Ruby's kind of the face for a lot of things for Guild Chat, for Guild Wars 2, like a lot of the decision-making power doesn't rest on her shoulders, and because of that, she shouldn't be able to be the focal point for a lot of things. It'd be unfair.
They're different roles, completely. They're different roles.
So it would be like a Grouch or a Colin situation would have to take that role.
Yeah,
I guess. Not even that, because they're not even the producers. So it's like.
Well, so standards. So always who's been in that role until I left was Colin, and it was Mo as well when they were because I think they were co-directors, and then no, not director, game director specifically, and then Colin is he's at the top now where Mo was, and that's now where Grouch is. It's different generation, different way of communicating. And I think honestly, Josh is really good. He gets into the streams, talks to people, tweets a lot. But there is also, you know, fitting. He's brand new to that role. He shot up so quickly. And I think, you know, I am pretty confident he'll get to that spot and I think that will come with time. I think it's an experience thing. I think it's also, they've just got so much going on, and maybe they've got steam in so many different ways they're putting themselves right now. I think they're being careful about that. I do agree that maybe a little bit more FaceTime would be beneficial, because I think in the past we did have that.
I mean, I would say that it doesn't actually have to be. I say Yoshi P as an example of putting a human face to the development team and owning their mistakes, being honest about what's coming, being honest about what's not coming, why things are delayed, why things can't be done this way, why we hear you that you want this, we're going to have to, if we can get it done, it's going to take this, this, and this. Please bear with us. But I don't think it has to be a single human being. I don't think that we should turn Ruby into Atlas. I think she has enough to do with, you know.
No.
But they have a lot of blog posts, and they have a lot of these written blog posts, and that's fine. I'm an old person, so I'm fine with that. Yeah, but I think that we need a more visual medium for these regular updates, so that it's something that everybody in the community, the TikTok generation that we are all becoming, gets this information, and different people representing different exactly. Well, different people representing different departments, so that they can actually, when people ask questions, they can give cogent and sentient and relevant answers. Sentient, Jesus Christ. Relevant answers. Sentient is good. Everyone needs that. Relevant answers. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah,
I am done.
Thing. It's well, that's something that has always been. It's weird because Guild Wars 2 had so much video and clips and combat and everything before it launched that was really that campaign, the launch campaign for Guild Wars 2, I feel like was really, really solid, and it's probably one of the best I've seen for an MMORPG. Like combat trailers, I would watch those. I watched those religiously on repeat. Like that was so good. And just like even just the, you know, some of the creatures like the giants in awe, and you know, just the script running around, and just some of the abilities from like the different new classes and stuff that I'd never seen before, and the combat and the PvP stuff. The thief running
across the rooftop.
Absolutely.
I remember that so clearly, right?
Very clearly. And even just the funny, stupid April Fool's stuff, like the SWAT team thing they did and that kind of stuff, because I think that was the first year it came out, or even before it came out. I think they released that SWAT team action, like you can be a new class, like this. Well, I can't remember what they called it.
It was the
it was so good. Commando, yeah, it was the Commando. Yeah.
But they even fall down when advertising the stuff that is actually keeping the live service alive. So they have all these new mounts in game, and the whole new mount series.
They just brought out the article. Did you see it? It's today. It just came out today. There's literally an article right now that just came out about the mounts, about the further on advanced mounts. But guess what? It's fucking, it's a written thing. It's written. Why don't they have the devs get excited about it? The people who are making this, talking over the top. You can get this thing. It's going to be this epic mount, you know, stick the trailer in an article somewhere, make some video, make some engaging content. I'm not saying the articles aren't good. Loads of people love reading articles. I do as well. I love hearing that and putting my own spin on it. But I feel really, really to get people engaged, and for Steam as well. When you have that thing, that is the first thing people will look at. I do not care who you are. You will read the reviews and everything, sure, but you will look at some of the videos below, and you will be like, "Oh, I want to see some screenshots. I want to see some video. I want to see some trailers."
I think these. So I think these beautiful mounts, these mount skins, they should be in the wild. We should see the exalted griffins flying in the map on Heart of Thorns. They should be there. They should be part of the story. You know, we should see the Kraukatoric mounts in the blasted areas. You want people to want these things. You want them to open their wallets, make them a living, breathing part of the world, make them a part of the story. You've themed it on that. Why are you wasting this stuff? you know?
I think that's a much bigger conversation about.
Yeah.
We're
moving slowly into that.
Yeah. I mean, we can keep going ahead. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. There have been a lot of huge victories, really great stuff, really good things, honestly. It is just so interesting because watching any of these games that we play and love, especially as they're hitting this 10-year marker, there is such a huge period of transition. And I don't envy this team. I don't envy Grouch either, because Jebro, like you said, I think Grouch has the potential to very much become that kind of personality for the game.
Sure.
He even has a history in content creation, right?
He was a commentator. I commentated the esports with him. Like when we commentated together, the first there was a tournament in Gamescom in 2014, I think, 15. And me and Krennic Gamer, we went there and we commentated. And I think he was on the team then. That's when he was doing it before that. He just stayed at the games. He was doing podcasts like this, you know? I mean, he's very much involved in it. Yeah.
I think he has the skill set, but I think right now as well, like everybody pointed out, there's so much to deal with and there's so much to like handle and so many things that when you are in that position, it's like, I do not envy them. All the tasks that they have leading up to the Steam release, as well as trying to adapt and look forward to the mediums and social mediums and all kinds of things that now are such a massive part of the MMO landscape. It is not an easy thing to do by any means, and they have definitely been taking steps. But I do think that these things, just like this roadmap, just like everything else, right, are going to be really instrumental in even just advocating for this game moving forward, keeping it in a place where it can grow, as we've seen. Like the game itself on its own, by its own merits, has retained a player base, and there have been things that have been really successful or less successful in the marketing for it. But the fact that the fact that we even at this point have things like World of Warcraft coming out with Dragonflight, and then that article came out that while technically they didn't actually say that WoW is the one that did it first, it was worded in such an awkward way that it
bad
like
wording.
really
Phrasing was poor. I retweeted that. I was like,
it was like, wow, MMO movement has been revolutionized. And then you know that there are millions of people out there in the world that literally don't know that Guild Wars 2 did this however many years ago.
One line was like, this is like WoW's version of Torrent, but not a single player game. And yeah, it's WoW's version of something.
Yeah, to read that, it's like, it says the MMO, but like, I maybe as a Guild Wars 2 player, I just read that in such a different way, but it was funny. It was just
like you want these systems to be something that it's so out there and it reaches the modern player base in such a way that there is no real confusion when something like this happens, because everybody's like, yeah, that's one of the reasons you play Guild Wars 2, right? Like, you want that moment where it's like, oh, this is exactly that because I recognize this game and I know this game. And that's always difficult. Not every single person is ever going to know about your game. But again, a lot of the steps they're taking, the Steam release, all these other things, these pieces that we're talking about that maybe still need some work, all of this is going to be instrumental in putting forth what a fantastic game Guild Wars 2 is. So anyway, we should probably continue with the blog post. But
let's continue because we've got a roadmap and everything going on. Is stabilizing fractal instabilities. Do we need to go through that much?
Sure. I mean,
read it. Does someone who wants to read it? And then, I guess it's my turn.
It is.
We'll just do that very quickly. Stabilizing fractal instabilities. The Mistlock instability system is intended to keep fractals of the mist feeling fresh. Ooh, with each instability introducing a new twist that provides additional challenges when completing an encounter. However, some instability combinations have a tendency to be more frustrating than challenging or fun. In the July 19 update, we are making adjustments to nearly every Mistlock instability to reduce frustrating difficulty spikes, reward players for taking advantage of positive play opportunities, and increase synergy between instabilities across the board. A full breakdown of the changes and design commentary for those changes will be waiting for you in the release notes on July 19th.
Okay.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah.
That's good. Good news.
I didn't even know really that was a problem, but cool.
Oh, it is a problem.
Is it? Can you do you want to tell us a bit about the problem?
No, it's just certain instabilities that when paired together are very difficult to do.
Right, fair enough.
They explain the problem in the paragraph.
Okay, I guess so, but like, I mean, I haven't experienced this. I don't know if it's a reality for many people or if people are just complaining about it for no reason.
I have heard people talk about before the fact that they're like, oh yeah, well, we're not going to run that this week because it's so annoying to do, or this one is just so difficult, like not doing that one, or going to wait for an easy one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Is that laziness though, or is that because it takes time, or because it's just really difficult to do?
Because there's no extra reward for doing it if it's that hard.
If it's more difficult, yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, so it's just like, oh, go ahead.
So I was going to say they're cleaning house before they hit stream. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. They're clearing out pain points. They're polishing the starting game. They're making sure that raids are more smooth. They're easier to get in. They're easier to learn because of the attrition mechanics. And they're trying to like they're breadcrumbing. They're polishing their brick road. That's what they're doing. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Do it. More players.
And that's, I think, a really good segue to the discussion point that we're going to try to do now, right?
We're just going to talk about the roadmap first. We're doing the whole article. I mean, the roadmap's
I was going to say, was it almost helpful? Holy shit balls.
I thought it was good.
I'll just quickly talk about the roadmap. Summer roadmap, there's Living World History. It's season 1, episode 3 and 4 coming out in the summer. So that is the summer. That means what? Summer officially ends. When does summer officially end? September 21st. Is it? Oh wow, that's late. Festivals
soon. November. Sorry, carry on.
Oh wow. Yeah, soon the whole year. Depending on where you live. End of Dragons update. Krakatoa Gen 3 legendary variant as well. Another one. Cool. This was the big one for me. World v World restructuring betas in the summer. I didn't even think they would be bringing betas back that soon, so that's cool.
That's good.
And then we've got the 10th year anniversary and the Gamescom happy hour, which was very vague.
Well, they didn't explain it at all, right? So yeah, I wonder what
it's like, what does that mean? Like, are they just going there? Like, are they
when's Gamescom?
I think it's normally August.
Because that might, if it's a Gamescom happy hour, it says August 24th to 28th. Maybe that's exactly when they're going to celebrate the 10th anniversary, and that's the happy hour for the 10th anniversary.
Could be.
I'd love if they were going to do like a 10th anniversary thing. It'd be so cool if they had some kind of show and, creators and people on, or
they absolutely should do.
I wonder if that'll be a part of that, like live from the convention, or...
Yeah, it's been notoriously badly advertised that when they go to our Gamescom, yes. Other than if there's like a big event, like a PvP event or something, yeah, it's not been the best. Which is kind of something which happens at times. But yeah, that's all the stuff that's coming. We might still have a few surprises up our sleeve in the summer months, and then wrapping up June 28th, we introduced the challenge mode for Harvest Temple, Strike Mission, hooray, hands up in the air, cheering, all that stuff. Without a doubt, this is the most difficult encounter we've introduced in Guild Wars 2 to date. After 5 grueling days and hundreds of raid wipes, all live stream thousands of players saw the things, and they congratulate Snowcrows in the rest of the article, which is very, very awesome. And they also show you the video from that when they're not scared to link it. As they say afterwards, this video is in English only and contains some explicit language. So I'm actually very surprised they even put that there, so that's cool. And now we can go on to the thing.
I just wanted to say really fast, I'm really happy they put that there, because even in the past, like Guild Wars 2, I think has been better in some of these blog posts about communicating, right? Like when communicating specifically in certain situations, content creators or community, things that happened or stuff like that. I remember I was so surprised when I did do the first pre-show host that they actually announced me on their blog post for it, and like my stream and stuff like that, because I've worked with other companies that like don't even put out a list of the creators that are doing something for them, or don't even like acknowledge specifically the names of groups for many legal reasons, I'm sure. But it always does feel very strange, especially if you are like in a partnership program, or if you've done something that, really did generate big visibility for the game or things like that. And I'm sure ArenaNet has not been perfect about this, but the amount of times that they really do reboost, retweet, or even will shout out something like this, like, I actually think that's really nice. I think it's really nice to see that. It feels good. And I'm glad that they acknowledged this kind of prog and what happened, because that was a huge achievement.
It was a huge achievement, and I will say that it does seem it's a little bit of a change in the way ArenaNet has operated in the past, because I feel like there's always this feeling in the hardcore raiding community that ArenaNet was kind of like acknowledged that they existed, but never really pushed them to the forefront or into visibility as much of their community. And doing this is, it's a big step. It's good.
I think they're actually very kind to the ecosystem of content creators that have grown up around them, and I think they're starting to learn how to take advantage of that free advertising.
I want to gonna push us on to things we think can be refreshed in Guild Wars 2, and there is a list, and I do have to make a phone call to check on someone as well for 5 minutes or so. So I'm gonna put this out there and let you kind of run with it.
Should I go through my whole list?
No.
Can we take turns?
I think maybe like people can come up with their stuff, and when it's relevant, talk about it. So what I really want to, we normally do. What did I say?
It's relevant now. We're talking about
No.
now.
I mean, we have organic conversations which evolve, and I just do what we normally do, basically. You don't have to go through your list religiously, unless you really need to, and you can of course do that.
I'm just enjoying watching Boots smile every time I say the quiet stuff out loud. I'm really enjoying that.
You've not been on the show before with Harold, so yeah, that's something.
Sorry.
It's something very special. No, that's why you're here.
Because I'm desperate. It's fine. I know it's okay.
What? That's not true. You've been on many. You've been on many of these shows.
No.
I enjoy it every time.
Good.
I get excited anytime that you get to come on. I'm like, yes.
And I'm just happy that I get to see someone who isn't the three that I always get to see, because it's always someone replacing me, usually. Yeah, you heard me, Rook.
Wow. All right. Well, I guess we'll take our faces away from you more
sometimes
often.
It's hard to stare at perfection all the time, It's hard to just continuously stare at perfection.
Wow.
All right. You saved it.
Right.
Damn.
Shots fired, guys.
Shots fired is the opposite of shots. Shots taken. I don't know. I don't even know. What is happening?
But no. Yeah, I'm happy that you're here, Harold, because I'm always the one replaced with cool people and never get to be, with the other people that aren't the normal people.
Sweet. I don't qualify as cool. Verbose, possibly. Weirdly English, yes.
Yes.
I think those are both traits of a cool person, so that's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So what's going on?
Right, let's talk about this.
Let's
go.
So things we want to
take over.
Right, something we want to bring up to scratch, not refresh necessarily. There are things. So there's things like world bosses, raids, fractals. There's one specifically I think which someone I mentioned last night on Twitter, the achievement point reward UI/rewards, what you get.
So now hold on a second. You just said that I couldn't go through my full list, but now you're going through your full list.
I'm mentioning examples. I'm not talking about what we want, PvP, adventures, future living world, etc. Right, go. I'm going to be back in 5. I just have to make this phone call.
I have one right off the bat. Are you
okay? I'm ready.
Okay. I want them to redo the intro cutscene / tutorial / instance, like the opening instance that you have in the game. I would love for them to redo. I would love for them to put in a couple story beats or cinematics that are more on par with like what you are going to experience later in the game with some of the storytelling stuff. I'd love for them to even have stuff in there like the training arenas, I'd like for them to just have something in there that feels like a stronger, more gripping initial introduction to like, here is the world of Guild Wars 2. This is who you are. This is like the area. This is how you play the game. Because as it is right now, I think that overhauling the whole story and like putting in a bunch more cinematics into all of the core game probably can't happen. I would still love to see that because while the traditional kind of like stand against screen effect has its charm sometimes, I think
Well,
that,
you're
like,
talking about not the opening instance. You're talking about the opening cinematic.
well, both. I'm talking about the
Okay.
opening cinematic and the opening tutorial instance thing, where you like you're the Sylvari in the dream, and then you
Yeah.
fight the thing at the end, or stuff like that. Or you're the person that starts out in the little village, and then you go and you fight the construct that appears. Like, to me, those moments have always felt, at least at this point, like you blast through it and you literally have no real sense very much of like who you are or why this world feels epic. Like,
That's
especially
interesting.
like
Yeah.
it goes down so fast, and I don't really know if the tutorial teaches you all that much about playing the game. Like a little, but like
It
you
doesn't.
push your buttons, you push one or two.
Yeah, well, you only have one button to press in the tutorial. I think the weirdest thing is that when I first played the game, when it first came out, and we did that opening cinematic, that was epic to me at that time. And I don't, yeah, I'm trying to reconcile that. Like nowadays, yeah, if I do it, I just breeze through it because I know the game already. But originally it felt epic to me. So I'm wondering if it would still feel epic for Steam players, or is it really not that anymore?
I think you haven't got a snowball's chance in hell of them changing the kind of iconic opening character introductions, because they're so tied to the choices that you make in your character creation. I think you have a hope that they might change the tutorial instance. And you can make a good, solid argument that they should put some polish on that, or some iteration on that, so that people understand break bars, understand weapon mechanics, maybe builds even a little bit. I mean, I don't like the restrictions that they put in for the new stuff for the leveling anyway. I mean, I don't know. That's probably been flogged to death, that topic.
Yeah. So the way I see the game these days for break bars, etc., I think of levels 1 to 80 as the tutorial for the game these days, and as long as they're able to teach you about break bars and everything in that period of time, that would be great. They don't really do that properly yet, but it would be great if they did. I think it would be very hard to introduce any kind of tutorials in the opening instance because of the fact that you literally only have one button to press.
I think you can do that though, and then like you still give more of a sense, right? Like I've seen plenty of tutorials in games that will expand a little bit what you can do, or like give you an idea of the potential of what you can do, or stuff like that. It's interesting. Obi says in chat, I think the opening cinematic and tutorial mission are okay. It seems like new players are quite impressed by it. I was a new player, and I'll be honest, I wasn't. I was not impressed by it, like when I first did it. I liked the opening cinematic well enough because the art style is beautiful, right? And things like that. But for me, in a tutorial, do I get a sense of at least the foundational mechanical things that this game is based off of? I know how to push one in an MMO, but again, what makes Guild Wars 2 different? So like, what are those kinds of things that I need to know that will catch my interest, but then I can build off of in the game? 2, do I have a really distinctive understanding of even like the foundations of the world, the lore of the world, something about the zone, my own character's role in the world, the characters that are a part of that? Do I get a sense of like something in that introduction that again is like a little carrot that's like offering me like, oh, here's a really charming NPC that's your friend, like Farron, or these sorts of things, right? And I think with some of the intros, it's better than others. Like I did the human commoner one recently, and I could not like. Okay,
Yeah,
so
who
the
cares
idea
about
is that
humans, though. Let's be honest.
it's many players do, and like we saw with Baldur's Gate 3,
Sorry.
humans are the most made race in a
is.
vast
God,
majority of
why is everyone
games.
so damn boring?
So
Don't get me wrong, I agree.
Good
But
lord.
like, right, so the idea of that starting instance is like, you've been taken in by these people you love in this inn, and you live a cozy but quaint life, and it's all supposed to be kind of like The Hobbit and The Shire. Like, it feels a little bit like that energy. But do I actually get a sense of any of that? Do I get a sense of the humans' plight against centaurs? Technically, because they start fighting you.
Yeah.
But is there anything there really that gives me as a player this sense of this setup for the rest of the stuff that are going to be in those zones? Sorry, go ahead, Beards. I had a feeling.
Well, you know what? I think that you're absolutely right, but I think that is not capable of being addressed in the opening instance. Or the opening cinematic.
Be careful here. These are wishes and desires, not necessarily things that need to be that can be doable.
Well, no, I'm gonna say though, there is. I mean, one of the things on my list, which might pertain exactly to what you're saying, though, is the period of time between level 0 and 20 where you don't really have direction in the game.
Oh.
Because the story, because of the new player experience, they put story a little bit further on, and there's no, you're just kind of dropped in the world and said, explore a little, help people on the farm. But
fair enough.
But that's a long time.
Help people
to not have direction.
I mean, I feel really good when I've done that. To be fair,
it's great. It's a great thing to do. It's really nice to do.
Worms
but it doesn't give you a sense of where you are in the world and the direction you're supposed to be taking in the world.
I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate. I think I'm going to do a little bit of a, you know what? Guild Wars 2's intro to the game is one of my favorites ever, and I really like it. And I don't know why. It's because I think the story is important to me as well, but I think I really loved the fully, I could go where I wanted to go, like essentially for a bit, and I could go around in the zone. There was those level restrictions, which I think would actually improve that experience. I actually think Guild Wars 2 would do a very good job of going one Tamriel way of things, opening up every single zone in the game, like in core area up to ore, so you can go where the hell you want to go and level how you want to level, and I think that would be fantastic. It might not work for Guild Wars 2 because of linear story, unfortunately, but something could be fun. But sorry, Harold, you were going to talk about that first of all.
Sorry. One, I agree with you. I think that if at a level 2 you want to try and get to the Straits of Devastation, you should be allowed to try and get to the Straits of Devastation through all those maps and that hell. That is your journey to take. And I don't like restrictions. I understand that they're trying to put training wheels on. No, stop it, please. Let players play how they want to play. Yeah. But to Rook's thing. So when you make a Sylvari character, in the dream, the dragon from the next expansion is actually invading into the dream. And you go, and there's a sense of urgency, and there's a sense of danger, and there's a sense of a looming threat, and then you have this massive dragon pulling itself out of the floor, and you have to fight it. But when you come to as a Sylvari player, your character says something along the lines of, one does not simply awake from the dream and battle dragons. And I think there's something to that. There's a kind of, first of all, it's kind of like you're on a journey. You're on a journey from being born into the world as a Sylvari, learning about the world that you're living in, quietly expanding your abilities and helping people. And it's a progression up to that, the zenith of a world defender, commander of the pact. Everybody relies on you. You're the person who's going to die of, ulcer and stuff at 40. That's the kind of progression of your character. So I think there's something to be said in exactly what you say, that when you arrive, you should not be expected to slay the dragon, but you want to see the dragon. And I think that only in the Sylvari story do you get that sense of a greater looming threat on the horizon, because a chieftain summoning a maelstrom with a cart in it is not particularly threatening. I mean, maybe we're all just too jaded.
Well, but I think you're right, because it's not particularly threatening in the sense that as a new player, I don't think you understand the context of what that could even mean, right? There are things they could tie into that, right? They could easily branch into some of the stuff we're even now seeing return with season 1, some of the threats that these lands pose, some of the factions or organizations that have become important, obviously, which they didn't know about or didn't know the full scope of at the start of the game. So for me, I think like there are story beats I'd like to see revamped for sure, or like, you know, just expanded upon. But I feel like the most impact that you can have is, like Jebro has pointed out, within those first, even like 30 minutes of gameplay.
It's 12 minutes.
12 minutes
Something
of
like
gameplay.
12 minutes. That number's in my head for some reason.
If they were to create like a really powerful cinematic, but also like a brief, you know, introduction to the kind of world, as well as just kind of setting you out on your journey. Because I guess too, in other games I've played, there's this sense of like, oh, you joined an adventurers guild, or you're doing this thing, right? So you have a sense that like, now my job is to adventure.
Yeah.
So like, there are certain little points from that intro/tutorial, and I don't even know if it has to be 5 minutes. I mean, you could expand that out to some degree, but still let players kind of like go into the world and things. But like creating more of a powerful first 12-minute experience that then leaves you on some kind of note that transitions into the story, so that they don't have to revamp all of that for core game, but that is like, you know, like, and now I adventure, and then it leads you into stuff like joining one of the different, you know, groups and all those sorts of things. But I always felt like there was like a weird little bump for me. Some of the stories I felt like it connected really well. Some of it I felt like I'm not as sure. Some of it I didn't know, like you said, if there was a sense of a greater looming thing that I was working towards. So like, to me, that would be where you could get the most bang for your buck if you were going to redesign or introduce some new cutscenes, additional stuff, bulk that experience out. I don't know.
Question.
Yes.
Are you looking for a Lord of the Rings prologue to sort of like setting the scene for the world before you go into perhaps even character creation? So you look like for example Final Fantasy, you have that kind of the world and the adventure and the cards, and then you go in and you make your character. Would you like to see a sort of like a mini movie that skippable obviously for veteran players so they don't bash their brains out on their keyboard? Would you like to see a kind of like a call to arms of the bigger like scope of the game before you make your character?
If it has to be that, I think it just has to create a more
epic,
powerful emotional response.
I get
like
that.
even just like having some cutscenes where, like, for example, Kaith shows up in the Slavari one, right? Like you're talking to Kaith in the dream. Yeah. So like Kaith is a huge character. So even if in that moment you had like a cutscene with Kaith where she comes up and she's animated in such a way you get a sense of her personality, and she's talking with you and she gives you a little more context about the dream and the Sylvari, like if that moment were turned more into kind of overall, not just like a beginning cinematic that you either have to skip or sit through, but like more of in and of itself a miniature story arc, because there's a big discrepancy between the cinematic heights they reach in stuff like End of Dragons and the cinematics that we see. We get some really cool ones towards the end of the core game, right? But players that come in might be like, oh, what, there's no fully fleshed out cutscenes, or like, oh, towards the end there's some, but like everybody is just like standing here kind of emotionless in front of a background, like, or stuff like that, whereas you are losing out on some of the sense of time, space, urgency. Like even in the middle of a fight like Claw Island, you go talk to a commander and suddenly we're standing on this neat beautiful backdrop again, versus some of the later stuff where like you see stuff on fire and people are running and stuff is like, you know what I mean? So
it's full of narrative exposition rather than visual storytelling, which they have complete capacity to do.
Yes, and they sell out when like, oh my gosh, they've done so many gorgeous things recently.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of the core story needs to be tidied up. not just pacing with the 0 to 20, but just things like that you just mentioned. And
that guy, he's so happy. Sorry.
And also, I think very importantly, before Steam gets released, that they fix up the Zaitan fight.
Oh,
that is not a cat.
Yeah.
That is a dog. Just to inform you, I know you can't see because the name is over the top, but I was like, yeah, there's an important thing we should move before we move on. There is a distinction between cats and dogs.
the truth about them.
Looks happy.
You racist bastard.
Oh my gosh.
What?
But yes, if we were being real and I could, sky's the limit. Yeah, Boots, I totally agree. I would love for them to go in and touch up multiple parts of the core story, add some more dynamic and impactful cutscenes, some more.
But you're just saying like pressure points. You're saying like the best thing you could do is the beginning and the end.
Yes, like my honing in was just because I don't think there's any way before Steam release we're going to see them revamp all of the, cinematics and everything.
I agree. The beginning and the end. I say they really gotta look at levels 0 to 20 and then finally Zaitan fight. I
honestly think something simple, to be honest. Like I think Work to Games did something like options just at the beginning. Like you can a lot of what Guild Wars 2 people ask in terms of questions new player wise is if the simple question and the main question is if they even put this towards new players and I have a survey, we will probably know is where the fuck do I go? Okay? That should just be the first thing that gets addressed, all right? Clear, definitive direction of where you can go. If you can go to PvP at level 2, there should be an option which says you now have the option to go to the Mists and play in PvP. Here is a short video telling you what PvP is about and how you do the mode. Feature content creator if you want to, or just do your own video. Cool. Also, now you have the option to continue your journey via hearts. Hearts are XYZ. Fun little video, could be a content creator, whatever you want to do. Just some simple intros like that, little tiny videos. You have this in so many different games now, but things where you can say, we go this way, you can do that. You can do these very simple things in the game which are available with features of the game which are open to you. So if you do get bored of going through the story or going from the world, you can go and dip into some PvP. You can go and dip into some World v World now. You can have access to that. If you want to go and do a dungeon over there, we've got Ascalonian Catacombs. I need to get the mail, but it's not great. You can do the story at each level 10. I think, that process hopefully is going to get weaned down. You can just do it when you want to do it and it just scales you up or down, whatever. But that is the main, I think before they do anything else, like there is really that directional thing, because that is the thing with Steam that is important. Like Rooks brought up as well. Like I can't remember what the article is, but it was a while ago, and it was like the first Steam's retention record. If you don't grab them in the first 12 minutes or so, they're done, they're gone. It doesn't matter. And in an MMO, that's character creation. For me in an MMO, that's not even the hair. That's what you've almost got to grab me right then. So that kind of trailer that Rook is maybe talking about is probably within that scope of that. So it is very important. I'm going to push us on. Because I want to come up with a couple more things.
Can I just say one thing to add on to what you just said?
Yes.
Forgive me. I cannot agree with you.
It's okay.
I can't. God damn it! I can't agree with you more. What I would like to see.
Oh, you're agreeing. I forgive you then.
I am. I'm just going to leave that there. Right.
Thank you.
I want to see. You're welcome. I want to be able to.
I'm really glad you're here, Fornax. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you. You're quite welcome. I want to be able to get into my character and then play the story and nothing but the story, and it get me to level 80. Okay. I don't want to have filler. I don't want to have to. I want that to be a thing that they do. I think that there's lots of people who love to do open world exploration, love to do all the rest of the things. But I, as a person who really is there for the story, I like to get into a game and play the story right to the end. And if everything that's fantastic about the game really starts happening at level 80. So let's just get there. Let's just get there. That's my opinion.
I agree with you. And I honestly don't think it would hurt the game, because there are so many other systems that encourage you to explore. There are so many map completion, masteries. You even need to explore to get hero points. So
craft legendaries. You have to have.
To me, it's like I just think that you should let people just do the story and then, like you said, organically level through it. Maybe a few spots where, sure, you got to go around a map a little bit because the story beat, much like they do with the later expansions, like, we need your help fighting off the forces. So you run around and you fill up a little bar and complete it and you kill some things. Like, that's fine with me. I'm like, that's okay. Those are okay interludes. But yes, I agree. I think that so many people have found problems and difficulties with like the stop and start and then I can do that, but then what's my next thing? And then where do I go? So to me, it's like, give players that trajectory where they can blast straight ahead, they can get that level, and then they can explore all of the other zones that are even a little bit higher level around there, get the hero points, unlock this stuff, push on. I don't think that would be a bad idea.
Yeah, it's the fictive dream that writers talk about, where you get people in and they're reading and they're reading and they're reading and they can't stop reading. And you want to, if you care about player retention, you want to have that, and you want to have it uninterrupted, so they can't wait to find out what happens next. And the story, even in even the starting story, it's compelling enough with enough interesting choices that you can have that experience of, I just want to know what happens next. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, look at all these mounts and look at all this, and there's raids and there's and then we're off to the races, and we have hopefully a person who's transitioned from, oh, I'm going to give Guild Wars 2 a go, to, oh my God, I can't wait to find out what happens next, and I'm in. Yeah.
Well, especially now too with Living Season 1, right? Because Living Season 1, even though where it falls in the story, it's further back, it has all of their current design mentality and all sorts of other things. I mean, obviously they've reused some of the cinematics and stuff like that, but again, we still see a lot of things shine. So if you can get players pushed ahead, I do think that in the case of the core game experience, it allows you then to just transition more into some of the other stuff and get a better sense of what you'll be able to do long term. Because most of the stuff that I found the most interesting all happened to me, yes, post 80. And from Living Season 2 on is what like really gripped me in the game. So I think making it smoother for players to get to that point, and now to Living Season 1, which is being put back in, to me would make a lot of sense. And yes, I think that Guild Wars 2's environmental storytelling and map storytelling is something that they need to find ways to continue getting players into and exploring, because my gosh, there's so much in there that is so phenomenal and it's very different than other MMOs. But I think there are ways to do that feel more organic and less jarring, or less confusing.
Yeah, and I think this is something that you mentioned before, that that for you, Guild Wars 2's method of delivering environmental storytelling is good, but sometimes difficult to get into. Like, every map in the core story in the core game has its own storyline essentially, but it's sometimes kind of hard to decipher it. And I don't know if that's something they'll be able to take care of. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be done before Steam, but it's something that I'd like them to maybe take a look at in the future. But now that Jebro's gone, can I go through my list really quickly?
Go.
Okay, all right.
Go.
Don't tell Jebro. Okay, so level 0 to 20 story. Number 1. Number 2, Zaitan fight. Number 3, a lot of the lame traits and core trait lines that need a little revamp. I would like them to have it take a look at. I also don't think that's going to happen before Steam, but whatever. Underused weapon and utility elite skills. And more importantly, now that it really doesn't matter anymore, racial skills might need to be looked at as well, because nobody uses them ever. And I feel like maybe they need to look at racial skills, and there's not too many of them, so it should be easy enough.
I mean, even if they, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how you could do this. Yes, I totally agree with you. Actually, that and the elite, looking at some of the traits and stuff, I feel like players would also really like it if, we all really like that initial push to something that's cool. Like today in Destiny 2, I just unlocked Solar, and I've been playing for like a week again, and then I was like, oh, cool. And there was a new superpower that I unlocked where I blast down and I'm on fire and I look so cool. And I was like, ooh. Yeah. So I feel like that's a really good opportunity for that core experience. And when you first kind of hit that 80, like you said, to have either like some capstone abilities, that the special skills, or things like that, or even your racial traits, which can kind of tell a story or do something interesting in and of themselves about your race and supplementing that. Like if they even just looked at a little bit of that and gave you something that like when you unlock it, or I don't know if your racial trait can, I don't know, abilities can have their own little thing, or I don't know. I think it would be great to give players a sense of the ooh that you get with elite specs, even as a culmination to core specs.
Yeah, and I mean they toned down all the racial skills to worse than other skills because they didn't want people to regret their choice of a race that they chose. I forget. Can you do race change now?
Nope.
No. Okay, you still can. But anyway, so I understand that. But at the same time, they have since then done balance splitting for World vs. World PvP and PvE. I figured they could balance split also for, if you go into a raid where it's really important, maybe all racial skills don't matter at that point anymore, or you can't use your racial skills in a raid, for example. But in general PvE, it's fine. And if you're in World vs. World, it's just toned down because it's World vs. World.
Well, they could actually like just give them a genuine narrative hook. So only in the story are they useful, but at least they'd be useful. So you think about a norm being able to go bare. That could be a vital part of the story and a vital part of their journey, and then they could explain why, and then the links to Coda and all the rest of that jazz, right?
Wish so much if we're gonna push that into story revamp category again. That would be so cool. Like I would love if you could use those, or if you had one equipped for a certain, quest relating to your original race, you could use that to great effect. Or like, yes, I think that would be so cool, even if they just made you like choose one of the skills at some point, and then that would affect a cutscene, or like you said, it would give you this extra lore about this thing, and then you would feel special because that's what you have. Or like as a Sylvari Fernhound and stuff, it's like, oh, this could be such a cute little moment or beat or something that has to do with the Sylvari. Yes, I agree, Fornax. I love that idea.
Because player skills, they don't always have to be focused on power. They can actually be a narrative expression, and I feel like it's underutilized.
Yeah, for sure. So there's another point that I had. Another one is maybe do a search for any mob in the game that still has the old stability or defiance buffs, and change that to proper break bars or something, because they still exist in the game.
That's another no for me. I hate break bars, but fine, I'll give it to you if you.
Or just remove it without a break bar. Then I don't know. Just give it the stability boon.
I want to dovetail off that for a second, in that So as I have gone through and I mean, gosh, I thought I had explored a lot of the End of Dragons maps in detail when I was first playing them, but I'm going through again and going through to try and collect everything and doing legendary stuff and all these sorts of things. So like now I'm discovering even more as I go through, which is a real testament to their design. It's amazing. But I encountered in in Echovald, there is a quest chain that starts where you end up finding and fighting this mini boss, Corrupted Warden. And he like summons all these spirits of the forest, and they're assaulting you, and you have to like follow them all around the map and like put these barrier shrines back up and all this stuff. And he's like whispering to you as you go, right? And his actual fight, it's just like a mini boss event chain. But because of some of the things that they've done with the like diversity of elites in End of Dragons, and then putting in some of these like smaller scale, like mini narrative boss fight things, right? Kind of like how they're revamping the world bosses. Like you just said, I would love to see them actually go through and in a couple of these core maps, not only like touch up just some of those mob, but like also just like take a couple, I don't know, key event chain enemies and just make them a little more interesting. Or just, give them a little something that, again, teaches a little bit more, or makes them a little distinctive as an enemy type and teaches you a little bit more about some of those factions and their style and fighting. And so I just think that could be really a big help.
They can have my left kidney if they give us anything other than a Defiance bar. Honestly, I'll mail it to them through the post.
I hate Defiance bar.
Before he realizes that we're talking about my list, I got to keep going through the list.
Go back to the door. We're not finished.
I had that because I had one headphone to my thing while I was waiting for them to answer. So I do know. It's okay. It's a good list.
I'm not done the list though.
You can keep going. I'm going to cut this down. I'm going to say we've got like a maximum of like 25 minutes ish left.
Okay, perfect. Right.
Kind of.
Okay, this is gonna take 4
Given
minutes.
this.
Less.
Timer.
Before the Steam release, they have to, or I think they should, include Living World stories into the cost of the expansions. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, correct.
Yes.
Possibly not before the Steam release, but sometime soon. More guild missions, more things tied to guilds.
Yes.
Yes. 100%.
Next is revamping the looking for group / looking, hopefully add a looking for guild UI in game, so alliances will be a success. And then they're talking about alliances and roll rewards. That's not going to come before Steam, I don't think. I don't know if this is really that important, but it's always been a little bit of a pain point for me that the upgrades to equipment and skill templates being character bound instead of account bound is a little annoying for someone with a lot of characters.
I got you.
Yeah.
I guess some of that is, I guess you could have some that could be account bound with like legendaries, right? But because gear and other things like that are distinctive to each character and you wouldn't want to like take that away from legendaries, it would be a little bit
It's
sucky.
the templates though that's the issue. It's because hey, if you have template tab, then you're as for default you have two.
You mean the unlocks? Like,
exactly.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood for a second. The unlocks specifically, that if you unlocked more tabs, they would be account wide.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yes.
But I understand that it's a bit of an issue, especially for the equipment unlocks, because those technically are storage. So it'd be like the best possible way to buy storage in the game if you just unlock account-wide equipment tab, and then so maybe that's not the best. They'd have to up the price for sure. Yeah. Anyway,
this is one of mine that's sort of disconnected, but is just one that came to my mind and I want to just mention. I would love it if they either distinctively changed the icon for when you have your next story beat or objective. You know, there's like the green star, but then there is like the green splat, I don't know, and like I don't know how to describe what it is. The other one that's kind of like a star, except that is the exact same color green, but it's telling you essentially what portals you would need to take to get to the next story.
Yeah.
But it's
God
like,
damn it.
But it's like, I have to go this way. It's telling me to go this way, so I go this way. Then it's like, then I have to go through this map, and then through this map, and then through this map.
If you don't use waypoints, what player is not going to use waypoints? Yeah. Like, I just want them so badly.
Or just an option to click it off.
Yes, but like an option to click it off, or at the very least, change the icon so that it is not the exact same kind of green and doesn't look
it's a
just at a
circle thing.
Like, change it to pink.
Swirly.
Change it to pink. If you pick this,
we've already got pink though.
Pink
is if you want to select which one you want to do. You can't do it to the same color.
Just change that. And then I would also really like, well, because it still to this day sometimes gets me if I'm talking about something on stream and I'm not paying attention. Like, and it's so frustrating because you're so confused and you're just like, especially as a new player, you're trying to figure out where to go and you don't understand why it just keeps leading you to other things. And then you finally are like, oh wait, oh my gosh, so just open up my map and I need to just see. So I would love if they delineated that. And then I'd also love it if they made there's like, okay, so the special collection-y kind of ones that oftentimes are like side quests that are that sort of gray square with a golden crown in them. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I would love if they changed that icon so that it was bigger and so that it identified itself more specifically along with quests. Like with I don't know, like Final Fantasy 14, we have a main story quest icon that's like the circle that has these flames, and then bonus but also important side quests are like the same kind of shape, but they're like blue and they've got like a plus sign on them. It's like plus story, additional story, right? And I have actually recently just found that so much of the side questy content that I really want, especially in End of Dragons, some of those beautiful post quests with like jewelry and all this stuff. Like, it's such good content, and it really is essentially, even though it's a collection, it is a side quest,
and it's
like
all voiced. It's all voiced as well. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. So like, I would like to see that one reworked as well, so that it is more indicative and that players can see that that's something that they can do if they're story-driven characters.
Isn't that something you could do with like most of the achievements though? We could do with most of the moving achievements into quests. Point.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so before,
many times,
because collections are kind of, for a period of time, and still is kind of, collections are kind of a quest.
No, they absolutely are. Yeah, 100%.
So
yeah, they are.
It would be great
if you've done the legendary 2 like a collection. I'm still doing that. I'm doing the last one now. I've got like 8 left, and it's literally a legendary quest line.
Right. So yeah, I think it would be great if, for example, if you collect a spoon, that opens up a collection. If you collect something that opens up a collection, anything that opens a collection, you always get a little thing at the bottom right that says it. Then it's kind of, after that, if you don't click on that quickly, it's kind of hard to find the collection.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That you just unlocked.
It's like one of the 3 latest ones, and sometimes it doesn't go to the top.
Yeah, and so it would be great if there was like a nice new UI dialogue box that says, "Hey, look at this collection that you could do. It's kind of like a quest."
And also, could they please on those different collections, either on like the item itself, just put some kind of visible thing, like, I don't know, like a star or something, or on the actual achievement panel collection itself, to tell you whether or not you need to physically keep the item, or if you can dump it after you get it and it will register permanently for the collection. Because like, that is something that as a new player destroyed my inventory. My inventory is bad no matter what. That is who I am as a human being. So all of that aside, but another big part of that was that as a new player, I didn't understand. Sometimes people would yell at me about like, this could be a precursor, that's a precursor. And I was like, for what? And like, the precursors they say what it is, right? Yeah. But then I'd have other stuff when I hovered over it that would say, this is a trophy, or this is part of a collection, or this is part of and I was sitting there like, I don't know what any of these are, and I don't know if I need them. And some of them would go away if I sold junk to a vendor, and some of them wouldn't. And sometimes I'd get the collection, and at first, my first intuition was that if it was a collection, then I, by logic, needed to collect all the items.
I've got
and have all
stuff.
Of them.
I've got so
but
much
you
stuff.
Don't. Like, there are so many collections where you can just dump those the moment you get them.
A quest or event slot would be good for that. Like a quest or event, but does Final Fantasy have that, doesn't it? Like a quest bag or like a quest key bag
they have a separate tab for all sorts of stuff.
Don't get me wrong, Final Fantasy's inventory management is actually, I think, worse
but they have
than Guild Wars
extra
2's.
Thing though, don't they?
They have a saddlebag, but they don't have a separpt crafting inventory. They don't have banks. You have to pay for additional retainers. Like,
I was just thinking about specifically like quest and event and quest and event bag or slot thing, so that if you were doing event stuff specifically, it just slotted the stuff in there and it didn't go into your inventory.
You don't have to root through your bags for it. I was thinking for a solution to your map portal problem, they could do what Final Fantasy do. So when you if you click on the quest in the top right hand corner, it should just open the map and then drag you to it, because they do that for some stuff, don't they, with the letters? They have the mechanic. They have the mechanic there to do it. They can fix it. Yeah. And if this is my I want a unicorn section of the show, I would like them to.
I don't remember calling it that, but I like it. Let's do that.
Daddy, I want a unicorn.
Okay.
I want them, before Steam arrives, to throw into the annals of history the transmutation charges and the hairdressing nonsense. Have a hairdressing NPC in game that you pay gold for. Have an NPC where you can change your gear and have gold for, or just have a gold charge every time you do it in your thing. Players are going to get into the game for the first time. They're going to go, look at all the fashion, look at all the hairstyles, and then they're going to go, they want money for that?
Oh, do you not have how many?
No, but I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about new players coming into the game.
Do they not get good access to transmutation?
No.
Yes, and I think that's a good point. If they want to keep transmutation charges in the game, I think there should also be more ways early on to just automatically get transmutation charges, because it's not something okay, like you get them from stuff, right? And there are certain periods of time, I think with leveling rewards or with some map completion
PvP
where you get them.
is the place you get them the most. Yeah.
PvP is the place you get them the most, though.
That's why I'm
and I see so many players who are like, what are transmutation charges? How do I get them? So to me, that could also be a good incentive, even just for the core game stuff, hearts, whatever, that you just get a bunch.
Make them a craftable item so that they can form part of the economy. Whatever, just get them off the trading post, get them out of the gem store, because that looks like malicious.
What if they're a rare drop?
Dining.
Yeah, what if they're a rare drop from salvaging stuff?
Yeah, anything.
Yeah,
any
like something like that. Salvaging would be great. I mean, I'm on the fence. I don't necessarily think that you have to remove them from the store. I think you could have them there if people just want to buy them in bulk for whatever reason. But like, it is one of those things to me where I'm just going like, you have such a great cosmetic system in this game, and that's a huge draw for players. And especially early on when you're getting these hideous, yucky, terrible, low-level pieces, people want to be able to like, I got this thing that I really liked, but now I have this ugly one. Like, you don't want to feel shoehorned or confused, you know? Like, if you get a thing, you should be able to start playing with your transmutation as it is, and that incentivizes you to want to do more. So if there were more organic ways that you could just farm them in a vast variety of content in game, I think that would be great. Once you figure out that you get them from PvP, that's fine too, but like, I would like to have other options where you're getting them more organically so that players can then experiment more and play with more. And then sure, if you want to buy a big stack, go for it. I think too as well, the fact that legendaries allow you to do them free of charge. That's one perk to legendaries, like putting that cosmetic on that then would be taken away if we just didn't have them point blank. But at the same time, I mean, I wouldn't mind if they just removed transmutation period, or like made it just for gold as opposed to the charges or something, or like, you know, whatever amount of money. I mean, that would not bother me.
It's a pain point. It's a pain point for people, especially in the early game. And, and considering the fact that the beautiful mount skins that I think are amazing, and I'm happy for them to fund the game, to buy a single mount skin costs more than to buy the game a lot of the time. Yeah. I mean, I think their funding model is fairly robust. Do they need to nickel and dime? That's my question. And I mean, this is my wish. So
it's difficult to say, because if you look at other games, they're doing kind of the same thing. Like in other games, you have to pay, and much worse. Like ESO, you have to pay so much gold to change your skin stuff. All right, it's in-game gold and stuff as well, but you have to really like unlocking the things to even get that looks in the first place is a bit annoying. And then Final Fantasy system, I think Final Fantasy system's not bad. But there are other games where, you know, you have to buy those specific items and they have a subscription. I mean, and I'm just like, if the difference is between, you know, earning a little bit of cash so they can keep the game running, and if it's an actual thing, one of those things where people do pay for it and it does help the game.
I actually like that the cost to entry, right? Again, because you can play the game and start playing all the content. Like you said, sometimes even cheaper than some cosmetics. And I think on one side, like on one hand, that is maybe weird, but on the other hand, I'm also glad, because again, it's like getting into playing Guild Wars 2 is something that I think they are always trying to make more accessible for people, which to me in this market is so fantastic, especially with no subscription, because so many other games, it's like you pay for the games, you pay for the expansion, you pay for a monthly subscription, you pay for all this stuff, and the cash shop stuff is wildly expensive. And so for me, the fact that they're like, here is all this game that you can enjoy, and you know, you may not even have to spend money on for years, but then if you want optional cosmetics, you have to pay for them. It's like, I'm okay with that in many ways, but you have to be careful. I do agree with you, Fornax, in the sense that you have to be careful about not creating the impression that you lured people in for cheap, and then for them to feel like they get the same nice things that everybody else does, they now suddenly have to start paying, which is something that I have felt recently. I talked about Destiny 2 earlier, right? Like now you can just download Destiny 2 and start playing. But then when I got into it, it was like, well, now you have to buy all this stuff, or you can't do this content that all your friends are doing, and you can't open up the chests at the end because you don't have this thing. So you have to buy that, and then you have to buy the special edition of that. And then if you want these cosmetics, it's like you have to buy all these and you have to pay money for that. And then this and this and this. And games have to earn money, so that is completely fine. And I get that like there have to be revenue models, but it is always a balance, I think, with like how you're doing that. And so, you know, I saw in the chat, I just want to point this one out because it was interesting. I always put an outfit on whenever I'm leveling. Big same, but how do you get outfits? You buy them with money. So like, that's one of those things where I think transmutation charges, for example, making them more accessible would give, just like, especially early on, give players more sense of freedom without having to spend money right up front. But I don't mind that we have to spend money in the shop. I want to support this game. I like the stuff that's up there.
I mean,
it's just yeah.
I don't want to misrepresent. I think that as a free live service game, which is kind of what it is, right? That it has one of the fairest monetization systems and the most transparent monetization systems. Now, there are things that I don't like. I don't like the loot boxes. There are loot boxes. I don't like them. Loot boxes are gambling.
Oh yeah, and that's a different conversation. I mean,
that is a different. But in terms of stuff on the gem store being aesthetic and all the rest of that, I am fine. Have as many shiny baubles as you want. But when I think where I fear that the pain point will be for new players coming on in is if they've played Final Fantasy, if they played World of Warcraft, they're used to being able to customize their characters in game for an in-game charge, able to change how they look on the fly. All they have to do is find the right vendor. And then now, where's the hairdresser? How do I do this? Oh, I've got to... Yeah. They're pushing me to the gem store rather than I'm going there because I want to.
I think I have a solution.
Okay.
So transmutation charges are pretty attainable in PvP and War vs. World.
Yep.
But for PvPE players, which would be the majority of the new players coming into the game probably at first, it's less attainable. But what they could do maybe is every time you unlock a new skin by either selling or salvaging something you've never had as a skin before, or by equipping that skin, you get a transmutation charge.
Ooh. That's quite a lot of transmutation charges.
That's a nice idea. Well, no, but it would diminish. It would diminish as you level because the more things that there's a diminishing number of things that you can possibly unlock, right?
I mean,
exactly.
There's a lot, and there's different weapons. I mean, it's an idea for sure. It's definitely an idea. I don't want to get stuck on this because it's one thing, and I actually have to go in like 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay, that was my complete list of things that I wanted. So there you go.
Okay,
that's cool. It is, it's one of those systems which definitely can. It's funny that you can earn that more in PvP and World v World because arguably, I mean, I'm not going to say people do less fashion wars, I guess, in World v World and PvP because there's some very extravagant and amazing looks that people create. Myself included. But yeah, I think it should definitely be planned out somewhere. Again, these systems in ESO and World of Warcraft and also Final Fantasy 14, you know, if they're easier, they don't have to pay for a sub as well. So there is that to factor in and think about as well. So it is lots of different things coming together, and yeah, it's always an interesting thing to think about. I don't think transmutation charges, it's interesting to have that information because I've got thousands upon thousands of them that I just get, you know, from PvP. So whenever I change something, it's just changed, and I've got 10 more for each, for the one I used just now. So I just never think about it. So it is good that conversation comes up. So I do appreciate that. Is there anything, so one thing just because someone mentioned it yesterday, and it's not really a big thing, but I really do want those achievement point rewards updated because they're really out of date, man. Like they are so dated, and kind of the birthday gifts as well. That kind of goes hand in hand with that. But basically, with the achievements, you get you know, if you get 1,000, you get the cool, pretty UI, and it comes up, and you get a couple of gold, and you might get, you know, the really random, sketchy kind of weapon skins that are very questionable and random. And as you level up, you get the really old like outfit pieces. You know, there's the more lava. I can't remember what they're called. The more like lava, fiery kind of oriented one, or the shiny kind of paladin, guardian armor pieces as well. And they're very spaced out. And the gold reward is like 1 or 2 gold for like hitting 40k points. And I'm like, you give me 2 gold for that, man? And I know you get gems and stuff, but I'm like, 2 gold? Really? I could just go and play a daily PvP game, win it, and get 2 gold. You know what I mean?
I just had an idea, because I totally agree with you, Jeb. The idea is that they put in that really cool like new player tutorial achievement thing, right? Yeah. It would be so great if like once you got through that tutorial and like you're setting out into the world kind of thing, if like that all came up very clearly and was like, you know, achievement points are a big part of how you interact with the world and various quests, blah 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 blah. Like it showed you like, you know, complete your first achievement set, and like here's like the new player stuff that introduces you a little bit, right, to world exploration, story stuff, like those things that we were talking about, that sometimes it's hard to organically make the leap if you're coming from other MMOs into understanding or expecting the really amazing things Guild Wars 2 has with environmental storytelling or dynamic event chains or these new world boss reworks, right? Yeah. So they could have that little starter one, and then you could earn like the first piece of a new cosmetic set that would be like part of the achievement rewards for essentially the core player experience, so that you're getting cool stuff a little bit faster, and it encourages you to look longer term at some of the bigger stuff that, like you said, could then be updated as well, but making achievements part of your play and what you're looking at on each map as you go into it and stuff like that. And that core game set could be the commander's set. Yeah. And it could be like an iconic set where if you got all the pieces, cool. This was your like commander armor, and like reflect what you do in like the core game. And you could get those pieces and then have those cool cosmetics, and then if transmutations were a little bit easier as well, you could also then apply them, and you'd feel really cool as a new player, and you'd be interested in continuing to look at those achievement panels.
Well, maybe throw some transmutation charges into that as well. Yeah, just have them everywhere. They're everywhere. Yeah.
Well, I think in all honesty, I think that then goes into like just generally, I wish they would. There is the refreshing. This is really loosely linked now. I need to have the unicorn episode. Apparently. That's actually what Grouch used to, I remember he used to say that to me. Like, if you could have anything in the game, what would you do? Like, it doesn't matter. Unicorns and dragons. Yeah, I'm not going to repeat that. This is a long time ago. But it is like the one thing that I lose, and I think a lot of players don't understand, is how important achievements are to the game in terms of gaining things like looks, in terms of they're connected to everything you do in the game, essentially. You know, if you want a legendary back piece in PvP, you have to get those achievements done or you are not doing it. You know, you have to get the achievements done for anything legendary based. You need to get those done, other than maybe the core ones, but even then you can, you know, you get the precursors, you're still doing it. And actually you're still doing map completion, so that's an achievement essentially. So you really do need to, there's a real disconnect between achievements and what you do and what Guild Wars 2 is about. Guild Wars 2 is massively about the achievements in the game. They need to connect to it. They need to have a questing system which is intertwined with that. NPCs that deliver these achievements to you, which they've started to do in Dragons, they really do need to do that. And I think the Steam release is a good time for that to happen. But I don't think it's going to happen, but like now. But there really is a lot of the game which is hidden from the player. And the connection, they're missing that connection. It's hidden. And if they had that system there, visible to the player, and they understood what it meant and what it was and how they could access it, they would have more player retention. They
80% of the game is hidden. 80% of the game is hidden.
Maybe even
in the
more.
UI. Yeah.
Like, you know, and like you're saying, like Rook, I did that same event you were talking about in Echo of Old Wilds, got an achievement for it, and I was like, damn, dude, I didn't know that was there. I forgot to go and look at the achievements, and I've been playing the game for 10 years. And it's just like, you can see these things. You can be like, oh, there's this event that pops up here that I can get this one random achievement for like 2 points. People will go and do that stuff to get the rewards from the achievement points that you need. Like, people do this stuff. They love doing this stuff. I love doing it, and I like play PvP in World v World a lot now. And well, I play PvE a lot. I keep saying that. It's silly. I don't know.
Yeah. I think we live in such an attention deficit society. I think that if they're expecting people to like dig through all these menus and bars and achievements and all of it, you've got to grab people by the short and curlies and like drag them to what you want them to show. Right?
Yeah, I 100% agree, except I do think that there is a downside to that as well. Because once you grab people by the short and curlies, first of all, it's uncomfortable. Second of all,
some people like it.
That's true. That's exactly.
No yucking people's yum.
But that too many things appearing. Like, one of the things I like about Guild Wars 2 is the UI. When you're playing the game, is relatively clean. And the more things around of it. That's why. The more things that you do, or that they would need to do to grab people by the short and curlies, to get in your face, say, do this, do that. Hey, this exists. Hey, this exists. Hey, do this. Is gonna clutter up the screen, and it'll become, like one of those, sci-fi futuristic commentary things. Commentary things of like Google Glass. Yes. Go ahead.
Solution, sir. I counter your excellent point with a solution.
I'm ready. I love solutions.
You have an immersion toggle whereby you can turn all that shit off, and then you can find it organically to your heart's content.
You can turn that stuff off in loads of games. You just click off it. You can hide those things. Anyway.
I mean, it wasn't like a big brain thing, but it is.
Yeah, no, it's like the difference between, I guess, is the difference between having what's that thing? Taco? No. What's the UI? Yeah, Guild Wars 2 Tackle, like the UI add-on that you could do that tells you how to do all the different things.
I mean,
versus that just being tied into the game, turned on.
You could just have something like when you go to the map view now and you hover over hearts and stuff, right? They'll flash if you haven't done them yet. I wish they would also do that for mastery points. Please. And like have something there that was like these many mastery points on map, and then like underneath it, like when you hover over it.
They do it on some maps, don't they? Or do they?
Say like plus these 5 mystery masteries or something, and then be like, look, in achievements or whatever, like the hidden ones that you might find on a map, right?
Yeah.
So like having that would be great, but you could on that exact same menu click any of those to disable that or show it, like remove it or show it, like remove this icon, show this icon. Show only quest icons, show only. So you could definitely do something like that. And I mean, I think there are ways to more organically lead players, right? Like they could maybe make better use of scouts, where like you go into a region and you talk to a scout and they kind of give you the initial stuff now, but it would be great as well if there was something like, I mean, Jeb, like you were saying, like even if that scout, and maybe they do, I don't know. It's been so long since I went to Scouts as a hub of knowledge. I have a siren going by, sorry. But like if they said something to me, like we've gotten reports that, this thing is happening in this portion of the forest. If you're interested, ask me, or, like whatever. And then it could like show the event that would pop up or something. I mean, I feel like there are possibly ways to do it. Even that event chain that I found that I was talking about in Echo Vault, I was literally over there because I was trying to figure out how to start the elevator that's broken and surrounded by dead ghosts in that area. And then I saw an event and somebody in chat said, well, you have to do an event to make that fix. And I was like, I would have never known that if I had, if somebody wasn't here to say that, or if I looked it up online, I probably would find it. But then again, I'm going outside of the game to figure out what's happening. And so then I just did an event that was over there that seemed kind of inconspicuous, and that event did not unlock the elevator, but it did give me this whole other supplementary wonderful thing that I would have never encountered. So like those paths are kind of there, but sometimes it feels like there could be some way to indicate more so like these are not just things to ignore, because in most other MMOs your conditioning is like, oh, that's some dumb thing that it doesn't matter unless I'm level 10, like, you know, or like whatever. I would like it if there was some other way to more clearly indicate, or I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what the perfect fix is on this, but it feels like you almost have to spend years just learning to expect the level of incredible detail. And some players just won't spend that time, you know?
Don't have that time.
Yeah.
I tell you what, super quick. Something that they did brilliantly in the first campaigns, the original game, was each map location and each point of interest. The points of interest in the game then had actual text, lore information about the area. I missed that about them. A little way, if you want to add immersion without actually needing to reinvent the wheel or you know, like starve your dev team so that they'll work harder, then these little lore boxes of text, that's not a suggestion, by the way, I'm not suggesting that. I miss those. I'm going to be
I love those. I wish like Vistas and stuff, you'd get like information about that statue or something. Like in 14, we have this thing called the sightseeing log, which I honestly think they could do better. But
it's awful. God damn, I tried that. It's awful.
Yes, like, but the concept I like, where it's like, you know, you go and you find these vistas essentially, and you have to discover them on the maps. They're not like automatically marked for you. And then like there might be a little tidbit or something that leads you there, or like an idea, but you look for them and then you go to them and then you actually do a vista.
Deeply, oddly specific of what you actually have. It's like it's strange.
They ended up changing that post core game in 14, because it used to be that like the weather condition had to be this, and as the sun set over blah blah blah, you had to go stand and look at a thing, and then that would give you some relevant lore or something about it. But things that I do like are that now it's much more like the Vista system, and as you unlock them, they have like the little sightseeing log. So then like it'll give you a little blurb of lore about all of those, and it just stays there like in your, you know, in your lore. And they recently put in this other thing that's kind of like a lore compendium that like as you go through story beats or you do various things, in theory it will unlock more additional lore, and then you keep it there like a library so that you can see it or read it or have it at any time, which is
because there's the unending journal as well in Final Fantasy, which is just beautiful. Yeah, I mean that would be lovely. It would be lovely to be able to go to like a book, open it, and then watch your journey, look at the different cutscenes that have played out, have like a written. I know it's in your bloody UI, but it would be lovely to have a place where you can go and a tome to open to really kind of like live in the world.
I'm gonna have to cut it short. I'm sorry. I know this conversation is great.
I gotta get going too.
I do have to go. I am very appreciative of everyone's input today. Good job. Awesome. I feel like that could also be a separate podcast. I feel like I maybe have been underestimated how much we want to see refreshed, and I think it starts to go into the realms of we need this extra stuff that we actually just don't have at all. So like refreshed, updated, all the stuff which is necessary for the future of the game, which we're all focused on because we're all very invested and care about it a lot and love it a lot as well. So thank you very much to our guests today, Boots, Rookery, and also Fornax as well. We're gonna do a small intro and then we're gonna raid, and I will start with Boots. That's what we do when you do it. Blah.
Hey. Boots, aka World of Enders on YouTube, Boots_ on Twitch, and I'm also on Twitter at World of Enders, and make videos, but also I appear on podcasts sometimes. And speaking of which, Wednesday, Host of Ascalon, we're going to be doing one Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Yeah.
Oh no! Wow.
9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, Boots, for being back. I'll see you soon. Rookery, that's what we do. We do it.
Yes. Thank you all for the great conversation. I mean, we've already gotten so much touched on in the game and so many things that have been brushed up that I don't even think we were expecting. So again, all of our theorizing is just like us going, okay, well, what else could we do? What else could we do? Oh, this would be interesting. But honestly, I feel so good about the future. And I know the team is working so hard. And I just wanted to say that so that we end on that note ultimately, because so much, including these world bosses and recent updates, like fantastic, and I'm so happy for. But if you are curious, you can find me on Twitch and on YouTube at Rookery, ROOKURI. You can also find me on Twitter at Rookery_ and on Instagram at Rookery. I play a lot of Final Fantasy XIV and Guild Wars 2, and I love those two games, but I also do other MMOs. We might have a little variety coming up in future weeks, we'll see. And we've been doing a lot of other appearances, shoutcasting, co-hosting, guesting, all kinds of stuff. So as always, keep an eye out because whatever I'm doing where, we're probably talking about games that we love or, being involved with the community. So I try to let everybody know and keep everyone up to date.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you for joining us once again. We'll see you soon. And also, last but not least, Fornax, aka the legendary herald of Guild Wars 2.
Yeah. I'm Fornax, the Crichton Herald. I'm the Crichton Herald everywhere. If you type it, that's me, probably. Unless it's pornography, then it's definitely not me. And that's it.
It'd be like that. It's definitely me.
Definitely. I have many talents. That, unfortunately, is not one of them. No.
Oh my god.
and also, if you have Final Fantasy XIV footage of Ultima weapons, hit me up at thecrichtonherald@gmail.com. All lowercase and nothing. I need that footage for my upcoming video. You will get credit, because I'm doing a legendary off. Guild Wars 2 versus Final Fantasy XIV versus WoW. Who has the best legendaries? It's the showdown of the century. So that's what we're going to be doing.
Interesting.
Send me your footage. I'll show you some love. Okay, you can go now. Whatever you need to do. You're done. I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You may leave.
You may partake in the leaving ceremony. Okay. Everyone, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget, you could also catch the Lightbringers every Friday, mostly. And check out the podcast on Spotify, all the things. Also go to anchor.fm/JebroUnity or Jebro. I can't remember which one it is now, actually. That was bad. Okay, I'm just going to do that. Oh, no, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this in the chat. That's what it's for. It's for you. Podcast. Boom. It's Jebro Uni, that's the one. That's where you can find the raw stuff and all the info, as well as going to Spotify and all the things when they come out. I'm like an episode behind right now. I kind of released it every other week, but it's all on there. So if you ever want to go, down the shops, or you're in the car, or you're like, on the beach, especially during the summer months, and you're like, damn, I need something to do, listen to the Lightbringers, because there is so many hours of wonderfulness on there for you to listen to. So go and check it out. Also, thank you to our guests. Please make sure you take the time to check out the description, check them out. Follow their links. Follow them on Twitter. Follow them on Twitch, YouTube, all the things, wherever they do their content. I would massively appreciate it. And if you do want to purchase the game through one of their links or mine, you can check that out in the description below on YouTube and the other places. Otherwise, I will see you soon. I'm Jebro Unity, twitch.tv/Jebro. Jebro Unity. I do MMOs, lots of stuff, random games, also single player, PvP, whatever. Come check us out, mostly Friday to Sunday. I'll see you soon.
All consensual, yeah.
Yes. In PvP? Wait, what? Okay. I'm so confused. Goodbye! See you next time. God knows what we're talking about next time. Maybe we'll bring some ponies.
I'm going to guess
unicorns.
the release on the 19th.
Oh yeah, we can go and play that next week. Oh god, next week's so busy. We'll see.
I forgot to plug the podcast I'm on. No, never mind.
Oh god, do it now, quick.
DNN, I'm going to be on the 10th Guild Wars 2 10th anniversary podcast with them, so there you go.
Do not necessitate.
I was invited, yes. Okay. God knows why, but hey, I'll take it. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what that one is, so you have to tell me. I don't know. Bye!
Now?
No, not now. You can tell me in a bit. I'm doing the outro. Go away.
Then why'd you pause awkwardly?
Because I was saying bye-bye and then I was putting the music up.
Jebro.
You can't hear the music. Goodbye, everyone. See you soon. Blah, blah, blah.